taxes!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 144 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Grace, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie and EJ.
Hey guys.
Today, we are going to be talking about 815 of 911, which is titled Lab Rats, which is also the Contagion Part 2, and anyone listening knows we have a lot to talk about. Buckle in, guys, it's going to be a really long one.
Yeah.
Bear with us, we all have a
That's
lot
for
to
sure.
talk about.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And theories
Um,
galore at the end, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna have a lot to say, but we're gonna get into the meat of the episode first, as always. So let's just get right into it. So we actually, as with many major emergencies, we actually do a little time skip, but backwards. We go back 2 hours, and we are seeing what Mariah did before she left the lab. Now, so we know she hit Alan with the clipboard, knocking him out, so she could steal his badge since her purse wouldn't work anymore. She got into the lab and she takes the antiviral. And we had already we had discovered that she'd taken the antiviral last episode, so we were just seeing it play out as in her perspective. And we just love that Rod is just nearby listening to music, isn't hearing any of this, isn't
So
seeing any of this.
oblivious, which is so
Yeah.
typical for these storylines because obviously they want like this they kind of play out that way, but I'm just like, really, girl? Like, really?
Mhm. Well, she's probably like mentally celebrating. She's like, she got called to like she's about to get fired. That kind of deal.
Right.
But so Moira, so she sets the fire. Again, Roz is completely oblivious to all of this. And she puts the antiviral in a Stanley and leaves. Which you know how people have been joking that there's like Amazon promotions hidden everywhere. I was like, did Stanley pay for a promotion in this?
Right.
You
Oh,
can
I didn't
hide
even
an
notice
antiviral.
that. Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I just thought it was a random Tumblr, and maybe it was.
It looked like it. It looked like a Stanley
It
to me, but
looked
also
like
I
one,
don't
but
have a
I
Stanley,
don't think it
so
was one. I just think
know.
it
Well,
was a
obviously
generic.
it was bedazzled, so it's not like they're gonna put like
It
the
was fancy.
because it was Roz's, which is the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
Because
is.
Roz even says she stole her cup and bag. I'm like, oh, this bitch stealing everything. Dude.
Right.
So then Athena tells Bobby, we're back in present day, I think, and Athena tells Bobby what she did and tells them that she has a 90-minute head start on them. And Bobby asks what the mortality rate on this thing is, and the colonel says 30%. And death usually comes within 2 weeks of the illness, but this isn't a standard strain, this is a super strain, and so it's likely going to be hours. And Chim's already not doing great. So Buck says that they have to do something and asks what the normal treatment is, and they'll double it. And Ross says that there is no treatment. That was the entire point of their research. They were trying to come up with a treatment.
Mhm.
And Athena says it looks like Moira did and walked out with the one and only dose. And Bobby wants Athena to ask how long it would take to make a new dose. And Ross says that even if they had a functioning lab, it would take weeks to replicate, which is time they don't have. Because they don't have her equation, they don't have anything. Like, they would be starting essentially from scratch and just double timing it. Maybe they could get the rat out, but that's still the whole thing shut off. Anyhow,
Right.
so not a happening thing. And Bobby asks the colonel what the plan is, and he's like, the plan. And Bobby's like, well, I have 2 firefighters down here, one of whom has been exposed to a deadly pathogen, and the other has a tube in her chest. And Bobby's like, so what's the damn plan?
Right.
Go off, Bobby. Yeah, what's the damn plan? And
Literally.
this guy says they're exploring their options. Bobby's like, who the hell was that? And it's not the colonel. This new guy's here. Then the guy's
Ugh.
like, I'm Special Agent Santos with the FBI. And it's like, oh, so we have the Army and the FBI.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Right.
And Bobby's like, FBI? And Santos says, well, the breach of a Tier 4 biolab is a national security concern. He's going to be running the investigation and response from here on out, which I'm like, that's why the Army. And Buck's like, good, because this guy's worthless.
I loved Buck, but I'm just like,
Right.
oh, you can tell how he's feeling. Like, he's worried, obviously, about everyone. He does not want to lose his team. This is not looking good. So I understand why he really just started going off, but I just find it a little bit funny.
I was just like, I already don't like this FBI guy, but I'm kind of neutral on the colonel, so maybe give the colonel
Right.
someone on your
I get it. He's
I don't know.
frustrated.
I get it too. And Buck has never been a liar. He's always been someone that wears like his heart out on his sleeve and his emotions
Yeah.
like out in the open. And that is fair enough. So I don't blame him. But it's also like,
Right.
Buck, oh no. And so he continues like, tell him to open the damn door. And Santos is there saying that no one's opening anything. They can't break the quarantine, not until they know exactly what they're dealing with. And Bobby's like, well, we already know what we're dealing with. CCHF. And Santos says,
Right.
that's what it started out as, but they still don't know how violent this strain is. And Bobby says, well, you're about to find out, aren't you? Because my people in here are now lab rats.
Yep.
And Santos says that he urges Bobby not to look at it that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Of course he does.
Mhm.
It's like, how can you not look at it like that? Because, like, they basically are lab rats. Because, you know, if they're not going to do anything, they're all going to die. And then what are they going to do when they all die? They're probably going to use like their bodies for essential research.
Right.
Yeah, that they are lab rats. Like, there's no matter which way you cut it, and they can't even deny it. That's why they're like, oh, we urge you to look at it a different way. Like, how other way? You're dying.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that. And then he says that once they apprehend Dr. Blake, and they will, and they're covering airports, train stations, bus routes, even if she's gone to ground, they will find her. And when she's in custody, he's confident the military can safely resume extraction. And Buck is like, you mean retrieval? Because by the time you go in there, you're pulling out bodies. We're
Yeah.
not leaving them. No way. Because, like, you know, even if they're not infected with the virus by that point, as we find out later in the episode, they also are on oxygen tanks, and those are not limitless.
Right.
So they're not lasting as long as it will take to find Moira. So Athena's like, Buck, stop. And Bobby tells Buck to just listen to Athena and let the FBI and military do their jobs. And Buck's like, no, Cap, come on. And Bobby's like, that's an order. And then Bobby tells Athena that she can't be here. And she's like, what? And Bobby tells her it's too personal. And you know how you get when things get personal. And I'm like,
I
oh.
love Bobby with that.
Bobby is great.
He totally
And
was telling her
Athena-
what to do.
And
Yeah, he
Athena starts
was.
picking up on what he's putting down
Right.
because she's like, oh yeah, he knows how I get when things get
So
personal.
she's gonna solve the mystery.
Right.
Mhm. And he tells her to listen to him, and he says that the military and the FBI have more manpower and more resources. They are on this. They got to find this woman and soon. And Bobby tells her that she needs to hang up and go now. She says she understands, and Buck's face is like, you what?
Right.
And he's confused. He's not following all of this, so he's probably feeling so many things, frustrated. And she tells him that so Athena tells Bobby that she loves him. Bobby says he loves her too. And Buck runs after Athena and is like, so that's just it? We're gonna walk away? And Athena says, actually, we're gonna drive away. And Buck's like, asks if Athena really thinks they're gonna find her in time, and she says, God, I hope not. Buck's like, okay, I'm confused. And Athena's like, and this reminds me of the season 2 episode, Ocean's 901, where he's like, I'm so confused. Can you start over?
That
Yes.
is so true.
Yes.
Same scenario 6 years later. Like, we are also confused, darling. So Athena says you heard them. Even if they find Moira and she still got the antiviral, there's no way in hell they're going to give it to Chimney. He's expendable. They all are. And Buck asks, what do they do? And Athena says exactly what Bobby asked them to. They're going to find that crazy bitch and get their hands on the dose before anyone else in there gets sick. He tells him to get in, and Buck's like, okay, get him in. He is along for the ride. And really, I don't think she needed his help all that much for much of it, but I think she was like, if I leave him there, he's gonna cause more trouble.
Yes, that's exactly why she took him. She knew he would get into too much trouble and probably
Or like
he would be
if-
arrested and thrown in a cell within like an hour.
Right. If he was
Right.
to be left on his own to go home, he would definitely not go home. He would be solving
He would
this.
find a way into that lab. Like he would.
He would.
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah. So we're not leaving Buck on his own, essentially. And like obviously he has his own part to play at some point, but for the most part, he is just along for the ride. And so at the police station, we see like a bunch of patrol officers, and we see Officer Williams, and they're just milling around their desks. And Athena calls Officer Williams. She's asking if he's on patrol. He says he's about to go, and they just got a shift briefing. And Athena's like, good, because she wants him to let her know first if there is a hit on Moira's car. She wants him to look for her, and he's like, you got it. She's going to check Moira's house, and he then tells Athena that everyone down here is pulling for her husband and his team. And I thought, I was like, oh,
Mhm.
that's so sweet. We love
Yeah.
Officer Williams. He's pretty cool.
Right.
So then we have Bobby asking Maddie what they can expect with this virus and what progressions look like. And first phase is a fever, headache, fatigue. Bobby asks what is the second phase, and Maddie says that he's already in the second phase. It starts with mucosal bleeding. Sorry, I don't know how to say that word. Mucosal bleeding, and it leads to multi-organ bleeding and last organ failure. And there is no phase 3. So Bobby says how they need to figure out a way to slow down phase number 2. And poor Maddie, she is just in tears this whole time. Like, she is
Mhm.
reading all these things. I'm like, girl, like, I get why you're working this, but you also should not. You should not be.
Right.
Literally.
Like, none of them should be in the positions they are at all. But it's like, also, I don't know, where's Josh when you need him? But Maddie's like, how? And Bobby says that everyone keeps saying there's no treatment, but they've got to find a way to at least buy Chimney some more time. And Hen says that for hemorrhagic fevers, it's all about supportive care fluids, pain management. And Maddie tells Bobby that they're going to need saline and a lot of it, 2 to 5 liters per 24 hours. And she asks how much they have, and Hen says they have plenty on the rig, but down here, 1. And Maddie's like, oh, that won't be enough. Bobby says, well, if we don't have it, then maybe we can make it. And has asked Bobby what he's thinking, and Bobby says how they are trapped in a giant chemistry set.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're playing
wrong.
amateur scientists. Okay, we're here
Yeah.
for it.
You know what?
Oh.
It works. You got 2 paramedics, one who went to medical school for at least a little bit.
Right.
The med school bit was definitely coming out here a bit, I think.
Oh,
I
for
was
sure.
like, oh, that's more than just our paramedic head. That was med student head coming out. So then we go to Moira's house, and Buck is like, they already have the FBI there. They're setting up. Buck's like, well, the FBI guy works fast, and Athena says they usually do. And
Right.
Athena gets ready to leave the car, and Buck's like, well, you're going inside? And Athena's like, I'm just another LAPD officer assisting in the service of a federal warrant.
Right.
And Buck's like, okay, nice, smart, okay, great, what am I? And Athena's like, you're the guy waiting at the car.
That was so funny. Like, I was just like, yep. And Buck's like, oh, okay.
I mean, honey, Buck, sweetheart, you'd put your foot in your mouth pretty quickly. And also, people would definitely question why an LAFD person is there as well. Because he's got the LAFD hoodie on as well. So I'm like,
Right.
you don't fit into this scene yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Athena walks onto the scene, and one of the agents tells her there's no entry, that ERT still got the scene. And Athena tells him that they said you need a hand, and she's helping him take the evidence to the van. And when she does this, she's able to swipe something. Smooth talker Athena. I love her.
I know. And even the guy was like, oh, they usually send, rookies for this kind of work. She's like, I'm no better than a rookie. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Like, shouldn't think you're above a rookie's job. And I'm like, it's true, but yeah.
Right.
So she goes back to the car, and Buck's like, that's it, we're leaving. And Athena says that she got everything she needed, and Buck's like, you didn't even go inside. And Athena says that she didn't need to. She took the memory card from the camera. Like,
Right.
girl. And Buck's like, you stole the crime scene photos. And Athena's like, don't worry, they'll make more. How are they gonna explain the memory card missing though? Like,
It's just funny that she was able to do this, and this guy that supposedly works for the FBI, like,
Right.
literally
right there.
did not catch it. Like, I'm like, that, I don't,
Yeah.
okay. That
He
says
went
something.
again. Then we're back at the lab, and Ravi says that he got all mad scientist items as requested. And then he asks what they need, and Hen says sodium chloride and non-iodized salt. And she says that they'd use it for cell cultures. Ravi says that he is on it. Bobby goes to go check the med kit, and they have 3 rolls of gauze and some trauma dressings. Hen says not much staunching power, and she asks about vasopressors. And Bobby says that he can't find any in here, and the pharmacy box is on the break. Like, naturally. Anywhere they go after this whole ordeal, they're just going to be loaded up with as much gear as possible. Like,
Right.
they're just going to
yeah.
carry the most random stuff on them after this. Or at least, that's what I would do. And then Ravi got the sodium chloride, and Hen says that they are ready to DIY saline. And Maddie tells Hen that if she doesn't get the ratio perfect, Chim's heart could stop. And Hen tells Ravi to look for a defibrillator just in case.
Right.
Hen asks Maddie to help with the math, and Bobby measures what Maddie says. Ravi looks for an AED, but he can't bring it over because it's on the other side of like a bunch of rubble, and then he passes out.
Right.
And we're like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
I know, that was just like, whoa, because it was like the way he was talking, and then he was just like grunts, and then his eyes start to roll back in his head until he like collapses. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
damn, like, ooh.
And I knew from spoilers that something happened to Ravi, but I didn't know what. So I was like, oh, right. And watching this episode, I had forgotten about it until that point. I was like, oh wait, no, Ravi, what happened? So yeah, that was anxiety inducing. Oh, and then we are back to Athena and Buck, and they are going to go see Karen. They tell her that they know it's a lot to take in. They've explained the whole situation to her. And Buck says that Hen is okay, chest tube aside. And Karen says how she is locked in a tier 4 lab with a novel virus and no cure. That doesn't sound okay.
Right.
And she asks about Chimney. And Athena says how they're going to keep him comfortable while they try to find the woman who made the antiviral treatment. And Karen asks what they know about her. And Athena shows Karen the memory card. And I love, like, we all love Buck being like, Athena stole him from the police. And he's like, I
But
am
yeah,
the police.
Athena
I
is
just
quick to
transferred
correct him
custody.
though.
I just transferred custody.
Right.
Like, I don't think the FBI would see it that way, but
No.
okay.
No.
But Athena is hoping Karen can help them look at the photos. Karen is like, so you said there's only one dose of the antiviral, and Buck says how she used the other one on the rat. And Karen's like, so I guess we need to thank God only one of them is sick.
I'm like, Jinx still exists.
Right.
And of course we still have Ravi down in the lab. We don't know what's happened to him yet, so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, are you sure about that?
Right.
But also so far, like, Chim hasn't really passed out, so it's like, oh, what's happening here? Anyway, speaking of Ravi, back at the lab, Hen
Mhm.
asks if Ravi is breathing, and Bobby says he's not. He feels for a pulse, and he's got one. Bobby says that there's no sign of the virus. He's not getting oxygen, and his bottle is empty. And Bobby tells Hen to check her gauge, and she's at 5%, and Bobby is at 10. Then Hen tells Bobby that he's got 3 minutes before brain damage. Bobby sees the air hoses hanging from the ceiling, and he gets an idea. Maddie is unsure if the house coupling would match his tank, but they give it a try anyway, and it works. So Bobby, oh
Uses
god,
some
seeing them
duct
all
tape too. I love it.
some duct tape too. We love a good duct tape. And Bob, just watching Bobby with Ravi, he's just there like, come on, Ravi, come on, kid. And just watching everyone just rooting for Ravi was just really endearing.
Right.
I'm like, oh, like he's very properly part of the team. From being accidentally called Eddie to them all be like, no, Rob,
Yeah.
Ravi, right. It's endearing. He's part of the team. And Ravi's back. And then Bobby hooks up Hen as well. Ravi asked if he was sleeping, and Richard was like, yeah, it's stealing my thunder.
That was so funny though. I was just like, yep, typical Chim.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really funny. Ravi says he was like, oh, when I started to realize, like, when I started to pass out for a minute, like leading up, obviously he thought this was done, and it's like, so did she. Ravi said how he doesn't know what they would have done if he picked it up too. And Bobby says they would have figured it out. That's what we do.
Right.
The thing is that maybe it's the fact that I knew the spoilers, but I was able to pick up on Bobby looking at his hose during the scene, because this is where he looks at and sees his busted air tank. And so I saw that and I was like, I don't know that I would have caught it if I didn't have the spoilers already. But like that glance, I was like, oh shit. Anyhow, moving on. I was just like, so Karen plugs the SD card in her computer, and the photos don't really show much. And Karen even says they look like an IKEA catalog, and like she probably really lives at the lab, and the house is just a place to take a shower, change clothes, and occasionally order takeout.
Right.
Athena says how that's a lonely way to live, and Karen says, well, maybe not. She's guessing people don't interest her.
Right.
And Buck is being like, but germs do? I'm like, listen, she's a kind of sweetheart. Karen says how everyone's got their thing, and Athena says that she wishes they could figure out Moira's. Karen looks at the photos some more, and she's looking at like her books. And Athena answers a call from Williams and asks if he found something. And he says that he tracked down Moira's car. And it's in the parking lot of SoCal Tech Biomed. And Buck's like, she never left the lab. Athena's like, well, we know she stole the idea of one of her colleagues. She stole the tumbler and the handbag of another. Maybe that's not the only thing she stole. I'm like, Athena, you are a genius. And Athena tells Williams to check for another empty spot, and he does. He finds a spot for R. McLeod, and Buck's like, that's Roz. And Athena's like, tells Williams he did great. See if he can find that car. They think Moira might be in it. And then Karen says she thinks the photo she has on her wall. There's a picture of tween Moira, and then all the pictures of a scientist, but not just scientists. They're all Nobel laureates. They're like the rock stars of science, like the founder like the discoverer of penicillin, that kind of thing, like big names.
Right.
And Athena's like, a wall of fame. And Moira wants to be one of them. Karen's like, you don't win a Nobel Prize for starting a pandemic. And Buck is like, yeah, but you might get it for stopping one. Buck's like, he's like, he doesn't know science, but he does know arson. And some people want to burn down the world, but sometimes they do that so they can be the ones to put it out. And I'm like, oh, baby, you're right. You're right. That's one of the main things about arsonists.
Yep.
Also, that's why like some
So true.
arsonists are also linked back to also being firefighters, is because of what, as Heron next calls it here, the savior complex.
Right.
Every firefighter is a little bit of a pyromaniac, but it's okay. Athena's like, where would you go if you had the next big cure? Buck's like, well, you wouldn't give it to the government. And Karen says, well, you wouldn't give it to anyone. And Athena's like, you'd sell it.
Yeah.
And then we flash to Moira is in this meeting and she's trying to sell her antiviral. She's saying how big this was, but this guy's not so impressed. He doesn't see the need since this illness isn't common. And she's trying to hype it up by being like, well, it's not just that, but this is a super virus. And he says that no one has a super strain. And she's like, well, they're about to. What?
That was
Girl,
crazy.
what?
Yeah. It was so interesting how they went from obviously the previous scene to this scene. Like when they showed her books, I'm like, well, here's the thing. You would tell a lot about somebody by the books they read. And also like the things they have in their home, you could also tell a lot about a person. So I found that little tidbit to be so interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And like it was really cool to see them bringing Karen into things as well. Like, was it an SD card that they could have really plugged into any computer, really? Yes, but that's fine. I don't.
She also has the brain of a scientist.
Right.
She does have the brain of a scientist. And that is where, like, I feel like a lot of people that are like, well, they could have just taken it. No, she has the brain of a scientist. Take it to the scientist.
Yeah.
She built a program about going to Mars. Like, she is smart. She was going to be an astronaut before all of this. Like, give my girl her flowers.
Literally.
So yes, we love seeing Karen in this. We love seeing them work together. I'm like, this is the detective team I want on my trail.
Definitely.
And so yeah, essentially with the whole Moira thing, she does not care. It's clear she has no compassion. She has no empathy, whether that's a sociopath or psychopath at this point, who's no, but she's definitely one of those big names, that's for sure. Like that's not an overstatement. She's got problems. She is willing to sacrifice. And I'm wondering, like, I don't think she necessarily bet on the firefighters going in there. My guess is that she was maybe thinking about Roz and Alan being the first like contaminants and being like affected, because and I doubt she would have cared about that much because they were foils in her work. Like maybe it was a deliberate slight towards them. Maybe she didn't even think about who was going to get infected. She just knew that they would.
Right,
so
yeah, she probably thought the lab would blow up and then that would all be gone. She probably didn't account that, firefighters are going to be called here and are going to respond and like that kind of thing. And
she didn't have it laid out as to who was getting infected. She just wanted people to get infected.
And all I have to say is at the end of this episode with what happened, I swear to God, they better throw the book at her.
I swear to God, yeah. Agreed.
Agreed. I hope they don't drop this. I hope they bring it up. Personally, I think Athena should go vigilante. Just saying. Just take her out for the betterment of humanity.
Oh, I hope that a lot gets done to her because I mean I'll mention this later again, but like just all the damage she caused from the
Like that's also an
fire.
expensive lab. Like
Yeah,
taking
that
away
too.
any life or death things in it, like that's an expensive lab. And if anyone's a domestic terrorist here, she is. So it's all that and then everything that happens at the end. So yeah, no, they better throw the book at her. And then we go back to the lab, and the DIY saline is too hot. It has to be 98 degrees before they can give it to him. Robbie checks his phone, and Hen asks if he's doing okay. And Robbie says how he knows the risks of the job. You know, every time you leave for work, there's a chance you might not come home. But he's wondering at what point does he call? And I was like, oh, that is rough. That's rough because you don't want to not call if you're sure you're going to die. But at this point, they're still holding out some hope. So it's like, I don't know. I don't envy that. That's such a difficult topic. And Hen tells him that you have to ask yourself what you're looking for. You know, if you need to hear the sound of their voice, that's for you. But no, it'll change things for them. You make it out of here, it'll be harder for them to each time they have to watch you leave. And like she's speaking from very personal experience. We remember the sniper, if nothing else.
Yeah.
The sniper episode where they all had to watch them leave with bulletproof vests and that montage. And that was very difficult. So Bobby taps Chim and tells him, no sleeping on the job.
Hmm,
And they just don't have to write him up.
right?
That was so funny. That was like a good way to, keep spirits up, I guess, because this is
Yeah.
terrible.
You can't stew in the bad situation. Like you can't run away from it, obviously, but like you gotta have some levity in here. And Chim says how he's not gonna lie, suspension sounds kind of appealing right now. And Bobby's like, nah, you're gonna want those days off for the baby.
Right.
Like so just like suspend him later
Yeah.
when
Exactly.
the baby's coming, give him that
Yeah.
and parental leave. Bobby tells Chim that it's all right, and well no, I skipped that. Oops. So Chim says, you know it's a boy, right? And Bobby's like, oh, having a son. Congrats, Chim. And Chim says how the moms keep telling him a boy is easier, and how the dads say having a boy is harder. Um, and Chim asks Bobby what he thinks. He knows he had one of each, and we
Hmm.
kind of see Bobby like just take a moment to like
Yeah.
let that hit. And then Chim's apologize. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby. I didn't bring that up." And Bobby tells Chim that it's all right, and he's happy to talk about his kids. And I was like, "Oh, you are coming for my feels.
All the
Understood.
feels.
Got
All
it.
the feels. Ugh. Oh, that
We're
was
Oh,
bringing up the
yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a time where Bobby didn't want to talk about his kids. It took a
Mhm.
long time for him to even be like, my kids died and my wife died and that kind of thing. For that's why it is such a touchy subject because Jim's like, oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean to bring that up. And then
Right.
Bobby's like, it's okay. Like, I'd love to talk about them.
Yeah. Chim says that he hated his dad for leaving so much, and now he's about to do the same thing. And Bobby tells him that he's not the same and he's not going anywhere. And let's be honest, even if Chim did die, that is not the same as your dad walking out on you.
Right.
That's not him making a choice to go get the milk and not come back. That is him
Right.
dying. And Chim's like, come on, Cap, this thing's moving fast. I'm running out of time. And Chim tells Bobby that he needs him to listen to him. He says how Maddie's going to want to shoulder it all. She's going to tell everyone she's fine, and everyone's going to believe her because she is Maddie, but not you, okay? You're not going to leave her alone because her and the kids, they are the best thing I've ever done. So I need you to promise me that you're going to take care of them. Okay, Cap? And Bobby promises Chim and says he won't let anything bad happen to Chim's family. The wording of this.
Mm-hmm.
And Chim's like, okay, good. And Athena gets to where the car is. And Officer Williams is commenting that he thinks this is the first time he's found a stolen car before anyone has reported it stolen.
That was a good line.
That was
It was
so
a great
true,
line.
though, because it's like, yep, that really does not happen. But like, being that she, stole the tumbler, she stole her bag, and then stole her car, it's just like, well, we've upgraded, a few things.
Few things, yeah. And the parking attendant has said that it's been here less than an hour, but he didn't see which way she went when she parked because he was slammed with like a yoga Pilates class getting down on just down the street getting out. And Buck asked if there was any clues inside, and he said just mints and a tissue with lipstick inside. And the thing is like, oh, so she was blotting. So she was worried about her appearance. And Athena asks Buck to pull up a list of the big pharma addresses, but Buck says how he doesn't think they need to, as he looks up and we see a sign for Marthel Harvey Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, gee. Yep.
It's like, oh, okay, well, don't have to waste time on a Google search, I guess.
Right.
Like,
I
okay.
know, like literally, like it's
Imagine
just
they
like
had just pulled up the Google Maps and it said 0.1 mile long.
Right.
that would have been
Like,
funny. I'd be like, it's just the way
like,
Buck looked up, and it's like this huge building.
Yeah. How could you miss it? Yeah.
Yeah, it
is
was kind of like,
very
and she's parked right there, and like,
and single-minded focus.
oh yeah, it's definitely like they needed that for storytelling, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
yep,
Love it.
we're in the right
Yeah.
place.
Right.
We're there. So Maddie gets a call. It's a FaceTime call, and Bobby tells Maddie that there's someone who wants to talk to him or wants to talk to her. So Bobby has Maddie talk to Chim to keep him awake while he checks on the saline. And Maddie says how she will try, how stubborn he can be. And Chim's like, hey, no, picking on the sick guy.
Yeah.
But then he starts bleeding a lot. The phone falls, so Maddie gets worried, and Chim calls Bobby over. Bobby tells Robbie to get gauze, but they're out. Bobby asks for a towel, anything, and Hen says to grab a triangle bandage and cut it up. And Robbie's like, you can't bleed out through your nose, can you? And Hen says, you can.
Yeah.
And Chim holds it to his nose. I'm like, well, anywhere you can bleed out.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the whole point of CCHF. It's hemorrhagic fever, hemorrhage, as in bleeding, a lot of it. You'll bleed out of basically every place you can.
Yeah. So then we switch to Buck and Athena. They're going to this pharmaceutical place, and Buck says how he's surprised she got past security. And Athena says to never underestimate crazy. Athena tells the receptionist that they're looking for Moira Blake, 5'9" redhead, and Buck being like, probably a little psychopath.
Which I loved. I loved that line from our darling Buck.
That was amazing. I was like, oh, okay, Buck. I don't know that it helps identify her, but true. You're not wrong. And then this guy comes down there and he's like, you got here fast. And he says how she walked in here off the street, set a pitch meeting, which is a red flag. And Athena says, well, what do you mean you got here fast? And the guy says he called 5 minutes ago. And Athena's like, who did you call? And I'm just here like, girl, who do you think he called? And he says 911.
Right.
Of course.
And Athena asks him to show her, and Buck stays down there to watch the door since Athena thinks they will have company, which they will.
Yes.
Back at the lab, they are still waiting for saline, and Bobby tells Chim to hang in there. Now it's good. They wait for it to hit temperature, so they gotta go fast. Bobby says how the bleed is too deep, and he says that they need a rhino rocket, and Hen's like, but we don't have one. And Bobby's like, well, what else? And she doesn't know. And they're all panicked at this point. And Hen just clearly just feels like useless. Like she can't get up to help. Like she's on her back with a hole in her chest, essentially.
Right.
And like, seeing Hen's pain in this was just tearing me up on the inside. Like, all of their pain, but hers just watching
Right.
Chim slowly die without being able to do anything. So then we go back to the lab, or not the lab, but the pharmaceutical place. Athena goes up to find Moira, but she's gone. And Athena looks through the bag, and then Moira appears, and Athena tells her that she's under arrest. And she makes some stupid excuse about like, oh, I thought the pastries were for everyone. I'm like, girl, who do you think you're fooling? And
Right.
Athena says, I
Literally.
figured we'd start with assault, arson, attempted murder. And Moira's like, wow, all that, and not even out of days. I'm like, damn, girl,
Yep.
I just smacked you right.
Right.
And Athena's like, and we both know this isn't your purse, which she says, oh god, no, it's hideous. And Athena says that she needs that antiviral, and Moira's like, my life's work? He was about to pay me millions for it. And the guy's like, no, I wasn't.
Literally, like he thought she was crazy.
Yeah.
Because like who just randomly shows up here and is like, I have this thing to pitch for like something that does not exist.
And then
It's
she pulls
like-
it out of a Stanley Cup and see, I have it right here.
Like literally,
like-
girl, you crazy.
And like pharmaceuticals and like big companies like that are pretty corrupt. But I don't think anyone's that stupid.
They're not gonna, because she was like, oh, this is worth millions, and it's like, okay, for something that literally, nobody really has it, and they're not going to want to buy into something that not many people are going to get infected with.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, well, girl, what were you thinking? And she says that that's her only bargaining chip. And Athena asks where it is, and Moira says she figured he called the police when he didn't come back. Athena figures she hid it, and then all of a sudden you hear like the water gurgling from one of those water jug thingies, and like Moira's eyes had slid to it like a little too fast, and we see Athena pick up on it, and then Moira like tries to go for it, and Athena pulls her gun on her and stops her and tells this dude to check it, and look what we found: stolen tumbler and the antiviral, and Moira's face just like. Oh, I was like, girl, you think you're way smarter than you actually are. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, she created this, sure, but like she's also dumb.
Yep.
Because who does this? So smart she's dumb. And then she tells Moira, now she's under her breath. And Buck hears the sirens and is like, oh no. He just bolts up the stairs, and Moira's telling Athena to be gentle. She's future Nobel laureate. And Athena's like, not sure about that. But like, not sure they get there's a terrorist. And
Nope.
Athena tells Buck they need to go a different way because the FBI is here. And he's like, you got the vial. And she's like, yeah, what different way? And Buck says, up. And I'm like, we're taking a break from regularly scheduled programming for me to be immensely happy about a couple of the following scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I was just saying, I have been saying this. And moving on, they get to the roof, and you can hear the helicopter above them. And Athena's like, this was your big idea? And Buck's like, no, that was. And he points, and there's an LAFD helicopter flying
Here
over their
comes
head.
Tommy.
And Athena's being like, you called your boyfriend? And Buck's like, ex-boyfriend.
That
I'm
was
like, honey, not for long at this rate.
Right.
we'll see.
He stole a helicopter for you again.
Again.
The amount of times Tommy's gonna be saving the 118, essentially.
Right.
I'm here for it. This is the third one so far.
Yeah.
If we're counting season 2, the plane, which is not fully confirmed that was him, but he at least got that happening because we
Right.
know Tim contacted him. So it's like, Tommy pulling through. Anyway,
Yeah.
we love him. He just rolls up. And Moira's like, there's no way I'm getting in that death trap. And I'm like, if it's a death trap, girl, you're getting in it. I don't care. I have no
Exactly.
qualms
Like, girl,
about
you
that.
literally work with deadly diseases. I don't care if you're in a suit or not. Like, you're around death like every day.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Tommy's like, we have to go. Our radio call, the army's coming. And Moira's like, okay, fine, I'll get it. So I'm like, okay, well, the army scares her at least. And so they get in, and Athena says she has to make a call too. The FBI comes up, looks, asks this dude where they went, and they're too late, and they just missed the helicopter. We just see them flying off into the distance. I'm like, ha! Anyway, sorry. I enjoyed this scene immensely. Watching the gifs of it over the weekend didn't live up to the actual thing.
Yeah, it was very interesting. See, I like seeing Tommy in a work capacity where, like, it's not like Buck's ex. Like, I liked the work part of it.
Right.
And stuff. I think I want them to explore that part of it more.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, no matter what happens with the whole Buck Tommy of it, which I am more convinced now than ever that they are leading to the reconciliation and everything. They're on that end of the will they, won't they. But whatever happens with that, seeing Tommy show up in a work capacity again, like we haven't really seen it since the capsized cruise ship.
Yeah.
Like we saw him at the tail end of the fire during the wedding, like when he came in from fighting a wildfire, but we didn't see him actually work then. But it was like, oh honey, you are definitely one for stunts, as we will see
Right.
later. But I agree with you, Katie. It's just so good to see him in a work capacity again. And he rolled up.
Yeah.
He was rolling up. He was here to help, and it was good to see him because we got people on their side. So back at the lab, Chim is passed out. So Bobby says they're going to get him up on the table. They have to do chest compressions, and him just like she's hyperventilating, and she takes the tube out where she can get up. And Bobby is noticing, it's like, hey, what the hell? You still have a hole in your chest cavity. And then it's like, so let's do this fast. She puts water up his nostril, and this should help stop the bleed. And they do get him back. And Chim sees Hen there, and he's like, not supposed to be here. And he asks what's going on. Bobby tells Maddie that they have good news, and she's just been sitting there crying. It's clear. I'm like, oh my
Right.
God. This has to be some of the worst time of her entire life. And that's saying a lot. She's had a lot of trauma. And Bobby just got off the phone with Athena, and she's on her way with the antivirus. So things are looking up. So we're in the helicopter. By this point, it is nighttime, which the sun was just setting when they had taken off. And Buck thanks Tommy for doing this for him. And Tommy says, you know, he's doing it for Chimney, which it is should be remembered. He owes Chimney a life debt, life debt, because Chimney
Yeah.
hauled his ass out of a gas explosion.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, hell yeah, you're doing this for Chimney.
Exactly.
And Buck's face just kind of gets downcast, and he's like, yeah, that's fair. And then Tommy looks at him, and he just has a little look on his face, and he's like, and for you. I'm like, just kiss already. Anyway, clearly not while you're flying, please, but at some point in the near future.
Yeah, see, I liked him. It was expected, but I also liked him saying, "No, I'm doing this for Chimney." Like,
Because he is doing it for Chim, but also he picked up the call from his ex.
yeah,
Mhm.
that shows a lot because, like,
Especially how they ended it last episode they were together in.
yeah,
Like they've hurt each other. They're still at an odd place where they both are clearly still into each other, but they're just having like the will they won't they thing. And even though, like, you know, Tommy hurt Buck first, but Buck hurt Tommy last time. And like even with that, even with like him walking away with the impression that he was just like a meaningless Buck, there was like no feelings there. Even that, he still picked up Buck's call. And he still probably stole another helicopter again. Yes, to help Chimney, but also for Buck. And I'm just like, Tommy Kennard, the man that you are. Thank you for your service. Anyway, so I was giggling to my feet during that bit. And then Tommy gets a radio call from the Colonel Hartman, and he's like, LAFD Copter 1671. This is Colonel Hartman of the United States Army. You're to return to base immediately. Copy. And I saw one thing that was like, I saw one thing that someone posted, like, was Tommy wondering if he could fake mouth static his way out of this one?
I had that
That
did
was a
occur
good-
to me in my mind when I
I was
was
thinking about that.
watching this.
I almost wish he'd done it again because I just would have died. But it's also like it's good to remember at this point that Tommy was Army. So I'm
Right.
wondering if he's just sitting here like, "Ah,
He's
shit."
probably scared shitless, to be honest, because anybody who's been in the military has said that, like, you know, you still have that trauma of
Yeah.
like higher ups and like drill sergeants like yelling at you.
Yeah, like we
Yeah.
don't know necessarily we don't know what rank he was, but he was certainly not as high as a colonel when he
Yeah.
was there. So it's like, okay, yeah, he's definitely like you even see him just straight up like, well, just a little bit.
Right.
And so he says negative. His orders are to assist with SoCal Tech Biomed. I'm like, who do you have orders? Is these your own orders? Like, whose
Right.
orders?
And-
Bucks? Because Buck certainly does not outrank you. And then Hartman says, change of plans, firefighter Kennard. He's taking control of this operation and he will comply. Be advised, we are providing you with an escort. And then rolls in an Army helicopter.
Right.
And I assume it's Army. I don't think it was police. I
I-
think it was Army.
It was
I
Army.
think, yeah, that one was
Oh.
Army.
And Buck says, I think he wants us to pull over. I'm like, how do you pull over in a helicopter?
Oh.
And he's like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, something incredibly stupid. And then he just begs. And he's doing like a series of stunts. And Buck's
Yeah.
looking increasingly more nervous with every single one.
Right.
And so the Buck Tommy fandom has been coping in very specific ways, and I've certainly been posting some things, but with some things I've been like, people are like, "Oh, Buck was so terrified and so turned on at the same time."
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was absolutely.
He has
I'm
a
like, "Yep, that's what-"
competency kink for sure.
I was like, listen, me too, man. But yeah, so that was Buck was certainly having a religious experience in this helicopter of some kind. And so Tommy's trying to get away, and then there's another helicopter. Buck's be like, oh, come on, they have two. And Tommy's just like, bastards. I'm like, let the man say fuck
Right.
on primetime television. Anyway, Tommy's trying to fly around and away. There's more. And Tommy's like, damn it. And things are getting close. And he just like steeply bangs. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He looks terrified. I am wondering what Moira was looking like in the back because we're not hearing a thing from her. But
Right.
Honestly, she could shut her mouth, so I
Yeah.
really
Did you
don't
guys notice
care.
that Athena's not in the plane or not in the helicopter?
I had a feeling, but like I didn't really. Okay, so the one moment that clued me is when they do land, and like Hartman is like telling Athena, and then they look in, and I believe the FBI guy is also there, and they're like, "Where is she?" And I'm like, I knew when they landed that she wasn't there.
Right.
yeah, so I already had spoilers. I already knew she
Yeah.
wasn't in there, so I
Yeah.
can't really say. But I feel like them saying that she wasn't like that they were far from the lab because there is a line of like Buck being like, "Well, how far are we from the lab?" And Thomas like, "Far." So I think that probably would have clued me in if I didn't already know. But again, I knew spoilers. I'd seen gifs of this scene already, so I was like, okay. So speaking of the how far they are from the lab, Tommy says he thinks this ride's over. I'm like, oh, but the flying lessons. And Buck asks how far from the lab they are, and Tommy's like far. And I was just thinking while I was watching the scene, I'll be real, like with the stunts and everything, I was like, technically these are army pilots against army pilots. Like he
Yeah.
is definitely using stunts he doesn't use in the LAFD
Right. Yeah. He's
for them.
evasive maneuvers, things he learned in the army for sure.
Mm-hmm. And Buck wonders, where to, and Tommy says, hold on, and they land at a stadium, and they all get out as the military's after them, and I just see the military rolling through like the various parts of the stadium. I'm like, this doesn't feel like overkill at all. I mean,
Right.
it's not, but it is also.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just like, they're just three guys. None of them are armed. Like, what are you? Well, who knows? Moira might be, but like, none of them. And Moira's like, "Is this all for me?" And I'm like,
Oh God, I wanted to punch her.
I did too.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, I mean, yes and
"This is
no.
not a flex."
Yeah, it's not like, oh, she was trying to soak it up. She was like feeling all special. And it's like, girl, you're about to feel so special in prison.
Mm-hmm. I'm just surprised she hadn't like parked out somewhere to like watch like the aftermath of the lab or anything. But I guess she just had a bigger goal than that. But if she didn't have like an immediate bigger goal, I'm pretty sure she would have, I don't know, disguised and hid in the like crowd
Yeah.
somewhere, or like was watching the feed of the lab, something like that. She is definitely the person that would go back and watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, just like Buck had talked about knowing arsonists and firefighters and things like that. So talking about, arsonists, many of them just stand in the crowd and watch as the firefighters are putting it out. So yeah, I could see her wanting to be there.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, "There's one more," and they're calling for Athena, but she's not there.
She's not there.
They're wondering where she is, and Athena is dropped off at the lab by Karen.
I love
Gotta
that.
love it. I'm just wondering how Athena crept by the military to get out. I'm assuming she just like hid in a bathroom or something, like hid around the corners. I don't know,
Well,
but she had to get past them.
Right.
well, yeah. Well, my first thought is like, how did she get down there in time without running into the FBI? I know when she got to the lab that she was told that the military and FBI had left a while ago because of like obviously the Tommy like eating like Buck and stuff, and they think Athena's there, so they all like leave the lab. I know that was out there, so it's just like, but it's like even still, you would think somebody would still be in the lab.
Yeah.
Somebody. Well, my wonder, and we have no reason to think this is true, so I'm just saying this is my personal theory that isn't even like my main theory, but it's a theory. When we see them get picked up on the roof, it's still pretty bright out. And then by the time we're at the helicopter chase, it is night.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders if Tommy made a detour and Athena was in the helicopter, and
Oh,
They
Karen
could have dropped her off somewhere else. Yeah, that's possible.
because surely there are other places
she,
where
yeah, because she was like, I
they
have
could
to
have
make
dropped
a
her off.
call.
Yeah.
But Karen could not have gotten there in time
No.
to help. So that is my working theory that I am becoming more convinced of as I say it. And I'll be interested to see if they ever confirm. I doubt they will, but
Oh,
and I
I
would
didn't
have
even
loved to have
think
seen
about
it, but
that.
obviously we can't devote the time for it, because we're still doing the mystique of whether Athena's there or not. But that's my theory.
No,
Is that
that's
they
a
just
good
don't.
theory. I hadn't even thought about that, but that makes sense because you're right. He was flying at night, except when they picked him up, it was daylight. So I could totally see that possibly being that she went with them initially and they dropped her off somewhere near where Karen could get to her.
Right. Yeah, I could see that happening. Because
Yeah.
even though it could have been like a while, like it does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe I don't know, maybe he found a reason to land at a hospital with a helipad or something like that, and she just got picked up there or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any
Yeah.
places that you can take off from and land and take off from pretty quickly as a helicopter, because it is a large
Well, I
vehicle.
mean, any open
Um,
field. I mean, I know where I grew
True.
up, we didn't have a helipad for our hospital, but there was a school like a block away from the hospital, and they landed in their field a lot. So
Yeah, I know where I
fields
grew
and
up. So I grew up in a slightly more rural area. Uh, Slightly more. It was, I know, mine was one of the few rural spots left. But there was like a huge open field. I remember a couple of times of watching like state troopers, like the state trooper helicopters, take off from like a huge open field, like near the library, not too far from where I lived, because it was like a good place to transport people or transport to John Hopkins or something like that. So I don't know, maybe. But yeah, that's my working theory. Let's move on. So Athena is dropped off at lab by Karen. We love her. And Roz is like, Sergeant Grant, you're back. And Athena says she brought a souvenir. And Roz yells for Alan to get a suit. And I love these two. I'm just saying, Roz and Alan, they have pulled their weight, like in
I
helping.
know. Yeah,
And
top tier.
Athena gets directions to go in and goes in. And we love that when she gets there and she's like, I've come to make a deposit. And Bobby tells Athena that she is a remarkable woman. And she says, I love you too. And her yelling out, go save Chimney. And Hartman comes for Athena. And I love her being like, sorry, fellas, you're a little late. And they tell her she's under arrest. And I'm like, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
And Bobby gives it to Chim, and just like they hope it's a miracle cure. Or that he says, just hope it's a miracle cure. Everyone says it is. Athena's outside now, and Buck's like, Athena, are you under arrest too? And Athena's like, Agent Santos was feeling a little dramatic.
right.
He used the dramatic one out, although Colonel Hartman's just standing there, but like Santos clearly has a view of his wife. But she has yet to see warrants, so she doubts anyone's under arrest. And Moira's like, that's great. And Athena's like, except for you.
Literally, I loved that line, but it's just the
Yes.
fact that like, see, Santos is like very intimidated because Athena obviously outsmarted the FBI.
Mhm.
Like she was about like 3 steps ahead of them every damn time. So like that's why she got to things way faster than they did. Because honestly, if there had been no call when they're at the pharmaceutical place, to 911, they probably would have still been ahead. Like they still were ahead, but they would have been even more ahead.
Yeah. Which, like, the pharmaceutical guy did the right thing, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
Oh,
if they
yeah,
had
for
showed up a
sure.
little earlier or anything, maybe they would have had. But like, also there's it plays in a factor too, because like Buck called Tommy because they needed a way out. And if Tommy hadn't been there to play the helicopter chase, distract them, and all that, the military and FBI probably wouldn't have left the lab, and it would have been a lot harder to get in. So like, it's multifaceted. They would have been ahead, but they would have reached like a block.
Yeah.
So I know they were still ahead. They were still ahead, and they outsmarted the fuck out of them. And Santos clearly hates that.
Yeah.
And Santos tells Athena that she obstructed a federal investigation. And did you really think we were going to let that stand? And Athena says, do you think your bosses are going to let you stand up in open court and tell this country just how close we came to another pandemic? I'm like, yeah, after
Right.
COVID,
Right.
like, we're not doing this again.
Yeah.
Literally.
And COVID already was like awful. This
Yeah.
virus, like already is worse. And it's like, oh my gosh. And so The colonel says that he's not concerned about the legality, but Sergeant Grant, you wasted the planet's only dose on a man who's already sitting on death's door. And Tommy's just standing there at this point, and he's like, on a man that's waving to you.
Right.
And the colonel's like, what? And we see Chim waving like at the monitors, and Moira's like, I'm a genius. And I'm like, girl, you're a bitch.
Girl, shut up.
Right,
That's what I
yeah.
would be like.
Yeah. And Bobby's holding up the sign, get my people out of here.
Go, Bobby.
Again, I'd like to point out, interesting phrasing.
Yes. Yes.
That when you go back and look, it's like, oh fuck.
Yep.
So Tim's okay. Moira's arrested. They get the rest of them out, and Bobby says how they're going to get them out of here in no time. And Ravi tells Bobby, he was going to quit today, and he's glad he didn't. And Bobby says, he is too, and they wouldn't have been able to get through this without Ravi. And I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. Oh my gosh. And Buck walks in and is like, you guys won't believe the day I had.
Typical Buck to be like,
So
you wouldn't
funny.
believe the day I had. And I'm like, Buck, that is always you. You're like, oh, I carried this, not all you.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean the day you had? We had, like, they're not saying this way. You could just read it on, like, Bobby and Robbie's face of, what do you mean the day you had?
They all had a
We
day. The whole
almost
118
died.
had a day.
I'm like, listen, you all had very different chaotic days.
Yeah. And I love when they do finally get Chimmed out, and they're taking the rat out too. He's like talking about it. I was like, I love that.
Yes, oh my gosh. So they get Jim and Hen out first, and Chim was like, G could use a pet. And Buck says, good luck, explain that to my sister. And I'm just like, yes, they saved the rat, which is what I've been rooting for since the first one. So just saying. And also, like, yay, the rat's also vaccinated at this point. So, or at least has the cure, so it's fine. But I was like, they saved the rat. Yeah, so because I hadn't expected them to care about like the rat bit of things, but I'm glad that they did. Because the little guy's just been chilling in the background the entire time.
Because here's
I
the
honestly
thing.
forgot he was there.
Chimney
not gonna
and the
lie.
rat now have the antibodies in them to create that they can now recreate the vaccine from.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, it's probably best to keep some of that stuff on hand. Just in case. Because we still got they still got to finish sealing off the room. I don't even know how they go about dealing with this lab now at this point. But they got to figure out something. So Buck goes back for Bobby and is like, hey, Cap. And Bobby closes the door. And Buck's wondering what he's doing. And Bobby takes off his mask. And Buck is yelling, no, what are you doing?
Yeah, like Buck's yelling this whole time, like from the second he closes the door, he's like yelling, and yeah, it's
what are you doing? No, don't take it off. And I think this is actually when I started to cry.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, okay. And
I'm like, no.
I'm just gonna say, I told you guys about this before we got on, but I'm gonna say just for all the listeners, there have been a few times I've wondered if my emotions were broken. Like, I didn't cry really for the finale for Lone Star at all. I didn't, like, there were several times where I should have cried and I didn't. And at some points I was like, am I just emotionally broken? Nope. Glad to report, everyone, my emotions were just fine. I was sobbing already, and we had only just started this whirlwind of a scene.
Yeah.
And so when Bobby does take off the mask, they see, but Buck sees the blood, and Bobby says that you're gonna be okay, Buck. Remember that they're gonna need you. I love you, kid. And Buck's being like, no, Cap, and just kept saying no, Cap, and Cap over and over and over again. Like he's in denial. He can't register what's happening. And Buck radios for Athena, and she's like, Buck, what is it? And he tells her that she needs to come in here. And you could tell that Athena was starting to wonder because Bobby hadn't come out yet. So, like, just kind of the realization, I think, starting to pass on her face that something was wrong. Devastating. And so Athena goes in there, and Bobby goes to the glass, and she asks how. And he says that there's a hole in the air supply line of his breathing apparatus. And it probably happened during the explosion. And Athena's like, well, why didn't you say anything? Bobby said there was only one dose. Nothing he said was going to change the math. And it's true. Even with the antiviral there, they probably could not have recreated another dose in time, even if they did have a lab, which they didn't.
Right. And it would have been one of those things where they would have picked who was less sicker, and obviously Bobby was less sick. Like he didn't really have
Yeah.
symptoms yet from
Mhm.
what we've seen. So
Yeah.
if they were to give it to somebody, he would have got it, and obviously
Yeah.
he would want Chim to have it, being that he has GA, and obviously Maddie's pregnant with their son.
And also, Bobby's not going to pick his life over anybody's. We all know
Exactly.
this.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's not going to do that. And honestly, like, I understand everyone's own motivations and stuff like that, but even I'm like, who would in this situation? Like,
Right. It
you
would
got to
have
look out for
been
the people.
his choice.
Yeah.
They would have had to, the military or FBI would have had to been like, this is who's gonna get it. It's kind of like when you see like two kids are sick or whatever, like, and they're like, well, this one's gonna get it because they're more likely to survive.
Yeah. Well, and it's just
Yeah.
it's general triage. Who is
Right.
less sicker of the two, and who's
Yeah.
gonna benefit the most? And like the person who's only just starting to show symptoms, if you get it sooner, the chances of them surviving is better than the person who's been hemorrhaging for hours. And so,
And I really hope in the next one they do focus on Chim's after effects as well. I know they've got a lot to be talking about in this next one. I know they're tackling a lot, but like Chim cannot have just gone through all of that and not still have like after effects. And I know like 9-1 is not the greatest about following up on that kind of thing.
Right.
But I am hoping they show that at least a little bit, but I digress. Athena yells for Buck to get a medical team down here, and Bobby's like, Athena, no. And she's like, what? And Bobby tells Buck not to send anyone else down here. He also tells him to leave. He says that he wants some time alone with his wife. Cue me sobbing more.
right.
And
I know.
Buck
I
looks
was a
heartbroken.
basket case.
Yeah. Yeah. This was really tough. This was tough. And Buck looks heartbroken, but he understands. Like the amount of emotion being communicated through masks this entire episode, like through their breathing apparatus,
Yeah.
insane. And he goes down to the hallway and he just starts taking off everything. His face is just shattered.
Yeah.
And Bobby says how he started feeling it hours ago, and Athena's like, there's gotta be something we can do. And Bobby's like, he's sorry, this isn't how he wanted to leave her. And Bobby says he isn't leaving her, that she won't let him.
Right.
And Bobby tells her she needs to listen to him, please. And he tells her he's not choosing to leave her. He chose to save his team because it was the right thing to do. It was never because he wanted to go. He doesn't want to go. If he could choose, he would stay with Athena, always. And then Athena tells Bobby, then stay. And Bobby says he's sorry. And Athena says they need more time. And Bobby says they don't have more time. Bobby says his was always borrowed. Ellie was supposed to be his penance, not his home. And then he said yes to dinner invitation. And he started to live again. And Athena's like, Bobby, please, please. Bobby's coughing and he gets blood on the glass. And he tells Athena that he loves her as she's yelling for him. And he tells Athena that she has to go. She can't be here for this next part. And she tells him that she is here for all the parts that they have left. I'm getting choked up even just thinking about this. Okay.
I know.
And Karen shows up and is asking Ravi if Hen's okay. Ravi says yeah. She hugs him and asks about Chim. And he says he's also okay. And then Karen says, so everyone's okay? And Ravi's face, he just starts breaking down. And like her face, you can tell she knows. And she's like, Ravi, who's not okay?
Well, in the process of elimination.
Yeah, it's like there are only a couple other people left. Like Robbie's right in front of you. Like the only other thing is maybe something surprising could have happened, like Buck or Athena, but like Bobby's the only other person left that was in that lab. And then the music started, and everyone online has been flipping out that's Hozier. However you say that name, is it Hozier?
Hozier.
Oh, yeah.
Hozier. So I don't listen to Hozier. I'm not really experimenting with their music or anything. So I don't necessarily have like a super big connection to this, but people were just flipping out of the song, and this song was really hit a lot. It really did. You see Hen finding out, Hartman told her, and then he left, and she's just sitting there, and her face is breaking down.
Right.
That was the one time I wanted to smack Hartman really across the face. I was like, "Don't just
Well,
leave her." What?
Yeah, and the hard thing too is both her and Chim are sitting in like a quarantine room.
Yeah.
So they really can't be with people, and yeah, it was just ugh. This was
Apparently,
tough.
Tim talked about like the deliberate choice of making sure everyone's isolated as they found out.
Yeah.
Like that was a deliberate choice that they made, and I'm like, it does hit so much more because they can't lean on each other. You see Hen start to break down. Bobby tells Athena that he loves her, and she says, "I love you." And Buck's breaking down. He is collapsed. He is like crying against the wall, and like he's just raw emotion. Oliver Stark's acting, everyone's acting in this fucking episode. And Bobby walks away and kneels by a table, which is apparently this is Peter's idea. I didn't know that before. That is very on par. Like he's kneeling, he's praying. We see Chim crying, Athena's crying, Buck, and we see Buck breaking down. Like he's basically screaming. We can't hear him, but like
I'm
you
kind
can
of
almost
glad we couldn't
imagine.
hear him because they did show it a
I
little
would have
bit
been done.
in the promo, but I swear I liked the decision to have music over this just because I think it would have been more painful, specifically for Buck to be breaking down like he is.
Yeah.
It just would have been much harder to watch. And I get, like, I know a couple people that I follow have said that the music choice, like, they were really, like, heartbroken over, not because of the music, but they were just saying, like, I heard somebody say that, you know, this song was, like, a song that they had associated for years with Bobby and Athena. So the fact that this was the
Oh,
song was
yeah,
just
that's
more
rough.
emotional. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally understand that. And one thing I did find interesting was Robbie and Karen because we've never really seen them interact. So it
Right.
was
I think we've
very
never seen them interact.
interesting to see them interact and Robbie to break down to Karen and like her comforting him and like him like, you know, obviously he tells her what happened. It was so interesting. I'm like, this is very interesting because obviously we know they've interacted off screen or just like story wise, they've definitely
Right.
interacted and stuff. But like it was
If
so
nothing else for the
interesting.
treasure hunt episode, probably.
Yeah,
Like
it
that
was
might have been.
so interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I
It
was just like,
was.
wow.
I think Robbie was at their vow renewal too.
Probably. I yeah, I
I
think
think I
so.
remember him being in the photo of them at their vow renewal.
Probably because that was season 4 or 5. I think it was 5. It was 5. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that would have been around when he was there. Yeah, no, all of this, all the little elements that they played into this, and so we see Buck breaking down, and then we see it pan out to like him being on a monitor, and like you can't really see his face on the monitor, but you can tell what's happening. And Tommy is there still in the command tent, and he's watching the monitor. And you can't really see very well in the episode because it's also just like a couple of seconds that he's on screen, but
Yeah.
someone's made gifs of it and
Mhm.
lightened them just enough. He's crying.
Yeah, he's all you can see your eyes are all red and he's upset and you know, definitely upset for Buck, but also for, you know, losing Bobby too.
It's worth remembering Tommy has known Bobby as long as Chim and Han. Like not as well, but he was there when Bobby first started. He was there when Bobby and Athena first met.
Yeah, the chicken.
And someone pointed out that he has been there for the start and the end of Athena. And I'm dead. I'm deceased. I can't handle that. But yeah, so watching him breaking down for Buck, but also but like he was not doing any like super major breakdown. Like that would not, I think, be
No.
a very on par with Tommy's character. But like
Right.
even just seeing like that tear coming down, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm Tommy too. I'm already a mess.
Yeah, like
Just a few seconds, and Lou did such a good job with those
Yeah,
couple
he did.
seconds. He does such a
yeah.
good job with couple seconds.
I feel like some people were confused of his reaction because they're like, he doesn't look sad. But I'm like, honestly, like Grace said, it's very on par for Tommy.
Right.
I feel like
Also,
he's
like his
not,
expression is shattered.
it
Yeah.
is
Like you can even
sad, but
see him
like,
swallowing. Like he looks sad.
yeah,
He's just stoic.
it's his set.
Mhm.
I think it's kind of one of those things where not everyone is super emotional, and I don't think Tommy is a super emotional person. Like I feel like he can be, but he not isn't necessarily that way, and that's okay. And also like it's been a while, like he doesn't really like the 118 has this bond, so of course they're all gonna be shattered. Where Tommy, he, like, yes, Bobby was his captain, but like he's obviously moved on for a while, so
Right.
it's gonna be a
He
different
doesn't have as
feeling.
much. Yeah,
And
he doesn't have as much
he's
of a
yes, he's
connection.
sad because of Bobby, but he's also gonna be sad for Buck, whether people like it or not. Like he
Right.
cares for Buck, and
Also, I
yeah.
will say that like, and I'm very curious, and we're gonna get on to this, I'm sure, in a little bit. I'm going to be curious to see how Eddie reacts, because obviously Eddie was very close to Bobby and all that. That's going to be difficult. We didn't get that in this episode, but Tommy was also military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth considering that he's probably lost people that he has worked with before, including commanding officers. So I think that does also hit in a slightly different way. Like grief can also hit in a slightly different way. So I don't know. I think for me it was pretty clear that he was obviously sad and also for Buck.
Right.
But of course, the 118 is like the current 118 is going to be reacting more so because that is their brother in arms, that's their father figure, that is their captain, their leader, that is their family. And now their family has been irrevocably shattered.
Well, and I think too, Tommy even admitted, and I don't know if it was earlier season 8 or end of season 7 when he shared that he was a little jealous of the 118. Oh no, it was when he came over to Bucks the first time. He said, he was jealous of the family that the 118 was, that wasn't like that when he was there. But Bobby was a huge proponent of that kind of becoming a thing, like it happening. And I think him wishing he could have experienced some of that a little more with Bobby there, and now that's not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I did like the choice of Bobby kneeling and praying, because that's very his character.
They haven't really touched on like the religious aspect for a while, but we've always known that like Bobby's religious, he's Catholic, and we know that's played a huge part in his life before. So they haven't touched on it much outside of him giving like a little bit of advice to Eddie for a while, but I liked that. It was so on par, and honestly, I'm so glad Peter wanted that in and got that put in because it was needed. And like, I think that was because the death itself was rather traumatic. Like he was coughing up blood was spraying all over the floor, kind of deal. Like that was traumatic to watch. And I've not seen deaths like that from humans personally, but I've seen deaths like that from animals, and it just gets increasingly harder. So it's like watching that, I was like, oh, okay, I've seen that before, and that is very hard. But watching him kneel, it added a sort of peace to a brutal death that I think was needed to continue to give him some dignity almost.
Yeah.
Give his character some dignity and his story ending. So everyone's breaking down, viewer wise, crew wise, everyone's breaking down. No one's okay. No one's gonna be okay for a while. And then we just see Bobby slowly just fall to the side. He just slumps over. I can tell EJ and I are both.
Yeah, I'm getting there. It's just
Katie's getting there.
I'm like, nope, I'm taking my glasses off, but they're just gonna get wet anyways. This was a really tough scene.
Yeah, it was. It was very tough. I'm just like, we're all not okay. And it was at this point of the episode where I'm just like, I was like, oh my God, he's infected. Like that's why he's doing this. And then I'm also like I was in denial. I'm like, no, this can't be real. This has to be a joke. And I'm just like, no, like totally in the in denial phase, like right after this aired. And I'm just like, I could not believe this. Even with leaks and stuff like that, I still was like, oh my God, like this is not like what? And it was just however many times I watch it, it's still like it still does not like feel real, like, and it's still just as emotional. And
I don't think it's gonna feel real for a few episodes, honestly. And whatever rewatch I do, I'm not ever expecting to stop crying at this. Like, this was a devastating scene. Like, I feel cracked open in my chest. But this was also a beautifully done scene.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've got to say, the actors, I give them awards just for this. Every single one of them. Every one. Their grief, the way they did, and it's like, communication is 70% nonverbal. Like body language is a huge thing. So except for Bobby and Athena, their entire communication during this montage was nonverbal, with Buck screaming on the floor, with Chim and Hen breaking down. Like we see them like getting increasingly more upset. And then at some point, Bobby and Athena aren't talking anymore. And we see Athena break down wrecked. Like you can't even see the rest of her face, and she's just got Angela Bassett can fucking act, okay? We all know this. But I was like, she was giving me her character in Black Panther vibes, because like she had such stoic emotions, but like but that was a different kind that we've seen really in Athena before. So seeing Athena experience those, I was just like, oh my God. Yeah, so destroyed. What the fuck?
Well, and I
What
think
the fuck?
and then it, it got me after, Bobby falls, with Chim and talking to Maddie on the phone.
Yes.
Um,
So
yeah.
Chim's on the phone with Maddie and tells Maddie that he knew when he saved Chim's life and that he knew, and then he just breaks down further. And it's like, oh, no one here is beating the survivor's guilt
Right.
anytime soon. Every single person. Like Buck's gonna have it for sure because he avoided it all, and Chim is gonna have it probably worse because Bobby sacrificed his life for Chim's.
Yeah.
And Hen's gonna feel guilty as fuck that she never noticed, couldn't save him. Because I think all of them are gonna be like, how did we not notice? Even though Bobby,
Yeah.
he didn't tell them, and he never took off his mask, so you couldn't see. And Ravi's also gonna be dealing with some shit because he just lost his captain. Like,
Right.
and one of the first people that really believed in him and helped him like move through himself. Like, this is gonna be a hard end of the season to go through. We got a couple more episodes and this is gonna be rough.
Yeah.
And then so we have all of that, and then there's just this clinical end to the episode where the music stops, they're carrying him out in a body bag, and then you just get this shot of Bobby's captain's helmet just laying on the ground. And someone made a gift set of comparing Buck's helmet on the ground after the lightning strike to his on
Yeah.
the. I was just like, stop.
Yep. I was gonna mention that if you didn't.
Yeah,
I
so
can't.
I think I would have been sobbing anyway, like if they had just ended it right there with the chimp scene. But like the sudden contrast to the clinical, I almost hated, but not as a creative choice. It was devastating in its own way. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's just something about the body bag.
Yeah. So it's a finality that I think many of us weren't prepared for. And like if you're thinking about it and you see him like he's kneeling there praying and then he like falls lifeless, like you don't technically know if he's falling because he's dying or has passed away, or if it's really that he just is passing out. And are they going to come in and find out that he's still alive and they can maybe resuscitate him or something? We don't know. And I think when Bobby looked at his gauge when Hen was looking at hers or something and it said 5, I think Bobby's was down to 0.
I think
I
so. Didn't he say
maybe
his was at like
I
his
think
was
he's
extremely low?
Yeah, I
his
think
was 10.
his said
He
he
actually
said
had the
10,
higher one there,
but I think he was
which was still
saying
high.
that to not scare anybody, because if there was a hole in his tank, that means all that oxygen was going out of the tank and out into the air. It wasn't going
See,
into
that's what
his
I was
mask.
wondering. Well, that's what I was wondering. I
So
was
I
like,
think his
I
tank
don't
was
think he has.
empty.
Yeah, but he was still breathing because the hole in his hose. Otherwise, it would have been the same scenario as Ravi.
Right.
But he didn't because his. So yeah, I was wondering because I was like, I don't actually know off the top of my head how oxygen tanks really work, so I wasn't sure if like the hole being busted would affect the tank or not. But yeah, if it would, then it probably was on 0. I know not like anyone was looking to check like
Right. Yeah.
other than them
yeah,
looking
it's
at
10 and
Ravi's.
nobody's gonna, because I was just thinking, I'm like, they all went in around the same time and their oxygen, they would not have gone in with low oxygen tanks. They would have gone in with a full tank, which would have been like 2 hours. I'm like, but I think with Hen having 5 and Ravi having none, and I was like, he was doing a lot of like overexerting himself to where he's breathing more.
That's what I was thinking, is that he was doing a lot of active work, like he was one of the ones steadily on his feet, so it makes sense he ran out first because he used that oxygen. And Hen, well, she was having breathing problems, so probably also using a fair amount of oxygen just to keep breathing. But like, yeah, I feel like probably all of theirs was realistically down to like 10, like 5 or something, or
So
I don't know.
I just it just that whole thing. And I think there were some if you go back now, I think if you look, there's some very minuscule hints, like we even said like the sign that he wrote was "Get my people out now," It was,
Not
it
get us
wasn't get
out.
us out. It was get my
Yeah.
people out.
Which I will credit. I was not the one to think of that when I was watching this. I think I saw like a photo of someone mentioning it. And at the time, I'll be real. Okay, a little funny reprieve is that I didn't know whether that was an edit, like someone had done of like the cardboard
Yeah.
sign guy doing that. I was like, wait, is this a real thing that happened? Or and then I was like, oh wait, no, this is a real thing that
Real thing,
happened.
yeah.
So at first I thought someone was just being funny. And then I was like, oh, okay, no, never mind. That was actually 911 doing that. But then I was like, oh, fuck. Cause so I can't even say I was originally the one that thought of that. I saw that elsewhere, but oh man, it was that. It's like you can, if you go back, you can see him checking his hose, which they replayed that clip during him revealing that his hose was busted. But like you can even see that, and you can even hear his wording, like him being like, nothing will happen to your family. But he doesn't say, I'm going to protect your family.
Right.
He accepted his death long before they even knew there was hope for Jim to still get it. Like,
And Bobby he went out completely the way Bobby's character would go out, saving others.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know a lot of people are upset. I'm upset. We're all upset. But he went out how Bobby would want to go out. And while it's going to be hard, and yes, many of us had this spoiled because we were all disappointed on like March 31st when that random fan or random person live stream basically
that was not a
entire
fan, because
that
no
would not
true
have been a
fan
fan.
would ruin that for an entire fandom of people. Like, that is a person that's like a set stalker and just wanted to spoil it for everyone.
Yeah, totally spoiled it. And then afterwards, and I remember mentioning when I was hosting a couple weeks ago that I was like, we're not going to talk about that because that was just too, and like, yeah, now we're talking about it a little bit because we're all disappointed. Like, we were all spoiled in some way, shape, or form because of that. And many of us were like, no, it's not going to happen. No, it's for somebody else. And now obviously it's not, but we were all spoiled because that person decided that they wanted to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah. And like,
yeah,
I just we knew it was out there. We got that. And personally for me, I just didn't want to think about it. I was like, well, maybe it could be a lot of different things. I thought maybe it could have been somebody's like coma dream. It could have been Bobby envisioning something of, maybe it was Bobby like dreaming about something or having some sort of like thing where he was thinking about his life. Oh, what would happen if this happened? We really didn't know. We just knew what was put out there that was spoiled for us. And I was just
and
like,
like
well, I
as
don't
we
want to
said,
think
we're
about
all
it.
so mad about
Yeah,
it.
we
We're all
are.
so mad about it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that was just like even I said, like, we were talking about this all before we started recording, right? And I think I even said then that like I already would have been spoiled because I don't watch it when it airs. And
Right.
this weekend was pretty difficult. Like I only watched it like the day that we're recording because I knew I couldn't like emotionally handle it when I was working, like when I was exhausted and working 4 doubles back to back. And I was like, I cannot deal with this. So I already knew I would have been spoiled, but being spoiled like over the couple days since an episode goes out and being spoiled 3 weeks before we even see this or any of that, it's just no true fan does that. So
It's a complete difference. Like, you can't watch the episode so you're spoiled that night maybe, and then like you watch it the next day or a couple of days later. That's one thing, but being spoiled multiple weeks in advance, that's really disappointing.
Yeah,
it really was.
for sure.
But I didn't think it was a coma dream because I don't think they're going to reuse that storyline. I don't think they feasibly can. Like that happened with Buck and they pulled it off. But I think if they did it more than once, it just doesn't work again. So I wasn't thinking it was a coma dream necessarily.
Listen, I was
but
trying to be in denial. I was trying to have
No.
delusions.
Yeah.
I know
Many
you're
people
saying
were
this
thinking it.
generally, but like
I think
I was
people
trying
were
to be
all thinking
Delulu.
that. Yeah. And like even I myself was like, well, maybe they're doing it again. I didn't think so because I just thought it wouldn't work again. But also part of me, the one in denial was like, well, maybe. And like obviously we didn't know what was happening. So I don't know, we were all trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, and now it's just like, oh, that's devastating. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, And I know, like, I know we're going to talk about the promo here, you know, after we do final thoughts and fan thoughts, but I thought it was really cool because I watched it on Hulu. They actually included the promo for the next episode, which will be in 2 weeks or May 1st
Yeah.
at the end. And Hulu never does that. So I was really glad
So I've
they
actually
did
seen the
that.
promo for once.
I know Grace, like,
I
I've seen the promo.
I know. So I
Like,
thought that
I
was
actually
really
talked about the promo.
cool. And I feel like it was very
I'm glad.
strategic because I feel that they were like, okay, well, so this big thing's happening at the end of the episode. So we'll put the promo
You need to
here.
bait people to come back
Yeah, because,
to be like, oh, there's still more after this.
yeah, because there are quite a few people that, will stop watching after this happened, which, that happens with
And all of
deaths.
them are commenting underneath of 901 ABC's Instagram post.
Oh, they're
I
all
ventured in the
commenting.
comments for a brief second and I went, nope, never mind, I'm leaving.
I know.
Could not handle that.
I know a lot of people are like, that. So, but then like, some people might watch next episode to see like the funeral, and then they might dip. I don't know, but like that's just so I feel like it was very strategic of them to like put this here to like show more things and stuff. But it definitely is going to like maybe get people to watch that part of it. I know like a lot of people, like I post the promos personally, and I've gotten varying comments. A lot of people have told me they aren't going to watch it anymore, and I'm like, that's fair. And I know people even made comments of like, why did they even renew the show when this happened? And I'm like, the show
because
can
there are more
still
characters than
live
just
on.
Bobby.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were like, oh my god, they killed off the main character. Bobby's not the main character. He's one of the main characters.
Right.
He's not the main character. So it's like, yes, this is going to be really hard and it's going to be really I don't even know all the paths we're going to take after this. I'm kind of glad that we did get renewed for season 9 before this came out. Otherwise I'd be like, oh my god, we're ending the show. What? But I'm glad they renewed for season 9 before we came out, like this episode came out.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, as I've said to someone else, if the way, not saying these are necessarily equal in like the magnitude, but in the way that they affected me personally, I just want to put that out there. If the way the Buck Tommy breakup was handled didn't get me to stop watching the show, Bobby dying will not, because they had about the same emotional magnitude, which may sound ridiculous to a lot of people because obviously this is a character dying,
Right.
and the other was just a relationship ending, but it was the fact that the relationship just meant so much to me and what it symbolized and a lot of lessons it taught, and the careless way it was handled, I still have nitpicks. That's what made it have such a big magnitude. I was destroyed for days over that one. So all that is to say is just that of course I'm going to continue watching 901. I'm not stopping, but it's going to be a different show and I'm not going to expect it to be the same. And that we all have to go into the rest of this being like, it's not going to be the same.
No.
Yeah, it's
dynamics are going to be very different now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard, and like I understand people's reasons for not wanting to watch anymore. I totally understand it. Obviously,
Absolutely respect it.
I respect it, and I've watched many shows where people have been killed off, so it's like nothing new to me.
Right. Yeah.
It's fine, and I like talking about the show with you guys, so like I would never stop watching. Like I'll see the show all the way through, however many years and seasons we get.
Yeah, we're in it for the long haul. If nothing else,
we are.
just because we talk about it here, but also like we're in it for the long haul.
And yes, outside of this Bobby dying, I thought this was a really good episode. It paired well with the previous episode. It was pretty well written. There was enough questions, like things going on, like Bobby's like, no, Athena, you know how you get when it's personal. Like it was such a like him like, okay, like get out of here, go do something, like go find her, and just those things, like those elements, and then bringing Karen in and having Karen help them out, and that
Karen,
was just really cool, because she's a very underutilized character because she's just the wife of Hen, and just seeing her being a part of kind of the investigation or figuring some things out and using her kind of experience as being her own like a rocket scientist, that was really cool. So having that, and having Ravi have a larger part, and like I think it was really well written. They didn't just have him randomly die on a scene. Like it was built up. It was handled, I think, very well. Am I upset? Of course. Definitely love Bobby. I love Peter Krause, and he's an amazing actor. He's played and brought Bobby to life for us for 8 seasons, and he will definitely be missed. And I'm sure there's a lot of Bobby, Peter fans who will stop watching the show after this when he's not in there, and that's fair. Many people come to certain series just specifically for their favorite actor, and that's okay.
That's what I think a lot of people did for Lone Star because of Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
So
I, and some of us, came for a certain character and stayed because we absolutely loved the series. Like me, I came for certain people. Or for 911, I actually didn't know anyone in the series when I first started watching it. I just thought it was going to be a cool show, and I loved it. And then when Lone Star came in, I knew of Rob Lowe, and I wanted to, watch more of him. And then, I fell in love with Tarlos and other things. And same with 911. I fell in love with Buck and Eddie and, the characters that, I'll be sticking around for, well through the entire series. But, we've been very lucky in 911 that we've had 8 seasons and never had a main character death before now.
Yeah, that's almost like unheard of any like drama series. And yeah, like especially at any first responder show, that's pretty like rare.
Yeah.
And on the ones I've watched, that's like very rare.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are lucky in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did really like this episode. Besides the, Bobby dying, and
Right.
I'm still like I'm still like it's like, even though we did have some inklings that was probably what was gonna happen, I still cannot believe it. And it's just like, it's kind of like one of those things where I'm just like, wow, like, and it's gonna be so weird like not having Bobby around. I know I did hear that like the last 3 episodes he will appear in like a flashback sequence or something like that, because a lot of people are like, well, we've seen Peter on set and stuff. Like
Yeah,
there's
and
one behind the scenes video where they're like throwing ice packs at each
right.
other.
And Ryan was also there too in Eddie's uniform, and everyone's like, that doesn't make sense. So they thought Eddie was back. So now we know it's a flashback.
Yeah, which I know like it was teased at online of like, oh, is Peter gonna come back as like the ghost of Bobby? And I'm like, honestly, we're gonna need that. And like
honestly, I'll take a ghost haunting the fire station.
Can we get the
That'd be
Ghost Stories
interesting.
episode we never got with Bobby just haunting the station? Like, in The Sims, when a Sim dies and then the ghost haunts them. Can we have that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me think of Supernatural and the other Bobby dying and him
Bobby
sticking
Singer.
around for a little while. Yeah, that's what
You
And
idiots.
There's been like
Anyway,
so
wait.
many things online from other shows, because in Modern Family, this is really funny, but Claire said she had an ex-boyfriend named Bobby Nash. So people are like, people need to check on Claire right now. Tell her that Bobby died.
Oh no.
I think that's funny.
Yeah, I think this is gonna sound very strange to say, but I think this might be one of my favorite episodes. Because listen, I am not happy about Bobby dying. That's not why I love this episode necessarily, but it's the way they handled the scene. It's the beauty in which they handle the scene. It's the acting. It's the heart put into everything. Especially in like a season that I feel like has kind of been a little up and down acting wise. Like I kind of felt like the dialogue's been a little off lately. I kind of feel like some of the acting has just felt a little forced. For one that's like gone back and forth as far as like acting for me, I thought everything they put their all into this, and I just think performance wise, it was perfection. Really, it was amazing. We saw Karen be utilized. We never see Karen be utilized, and honestly, I think we're sleeping on her being utilized. Now, I don't know how often they would use a rocket scientist for a firefighter show, but still, pretty rare for stuff like this.
Right.
Obviously, love to see her. It was great seeing Ravi get more of a part. Anirudh, just acted his heart out. He really did. And I'm very like I am finally one of those people that is like, hey, I want a Ravi main. I really think Ravi is being set up to be a main from here. And so I am very curious to see how this happens.
Yeah.
And naturally, of course, my roller coaster of emotions with this episode was watching like the detectives, like the detective pairing of Buck and Athena, and then Buck, Athena, and Karen, and seeing them be
Yeah.
silly, and we're going back and forth from the lab to them, so it's like this roller coaster. And then Tommy shows up, and like I'm not gonna overshadow this episode necessarily about Tommy feels, so to speak, but I am in my feels. And I loved every second we got as far as that went. And then it was like that high of the Buck Tommy stuff, and then that slope for Bobby. But every single thing in the most devastating way possible. I love this episode. Would I still have traded it probably to keep him alive? Yeah, sure, but like, oh well, too late now. So I am just very curious to see what's going to happen next. And I am also kind of excited to see how things are going to change now, the dynamics, because things are going to change and it's going to stop the show from being stagnant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm saying this in the
true.
best way I can without me sounding like I'm happy Bobby died or like I'm feeling callous, because I trust me, I am destroyed.
Right.
Yeah,
But
we all
I'm
are.
also very interested. So yeah, all that aside, loved it, devastated,
Yeah.
100 out of 10.
I have one more
Yeah.
thing I want to say before we get to fan thoughts, but this is
Yes.
something that like I had thought about earlier. I'm like, so Bobby is the heart and soul of the 118, and this is so hard. But I'm like, so like everyone goes to him with their problems and their advice, and I'm like, now who is
Yeah.
everyone gonna go to? And it's kind of like we just need Ghost Bobby to like appear when everyone needs to talk
He's
about
just
shit.
he's just now the 118's therapist and dad figure. He's not in danger ever anymore because obviously he's dead or something. But like
Right. Yeah.
he's just there.
Yeah. You say
So
Bobby 3 times and he just shows up.
Speaking of
Bobby,
therapists,
Bobby,
Frank
Bobby.
needs to come back.
Yes.
Like
We
now
need Frank
more than
back badly.
ever. Like, sir, come back because like, usually when stuff like this happens, there's usually like a therapist or a chaplain or somebody that like, is around.
A
And
shift
just
is probably going to be stood down for a little while because of all this. Like I can't picture them insisting they all go back to work or whatever at this time.
right.
So I think they're going to like be required to go through some training. Plus, like half of them were injured anyway.
Yeah.
So
Ken had a
like
whole
Hen and Chim moved into
stress.
recover.
Jim's not, yeah. Yeah, and just everyone else kind of has like obviously mental trauma. So yeah, definitely. But that
Right.
was just I've had several thoughts, and that was kind of the one of them.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was also thinking too, like it takes a little bit of time for a planning of a ceremony like this. Usually they have a pretty good way of getting it done quickly, but for the length and the amount of a ceremony, it's going to be probably a week or two. And, Hen's got a hole in her chest that she's going to have to heal before she can come
Yeah.
back to work. And Chin's going to have his own healing to do. So, yeah, I definitely see A shift being off for a while and probably the whole 118 firehouse down for a short time.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as like your comment about like the whole like advice thing, I will say Hen is so far doing pretty good as far as like she was encouraging like Ravi. She was like, I don't
Yeah.
know. This is just me furthering my theories as far as what's happening with Hen next and the shift of the 118. But I'm just like, I can see her doing that, but also it's gonna be rude not to have Bobby because he is just the he is the person everyone goes to. Literally, the man tried to plan his wedding and got interrupted by everyone.
Right.
True.
So yeah. All that aside, yeah. But no, that's a good point. And I'm so much speculation we could do. But what are our fan thoughts looking
Yeah, so there's so many. I love it.
like?
I know my friend gave you one this morning, I
Love
think.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. A very high stakes episode that was ruined by ridiculous decision to kill off one of the leading characters, a decision that I think will do more harm than good for the show. The beauty of 911 was that at the end of each episode, we knew the characters were safe and they didn't rely on the need to kill off its characters. I do feel that this this move will leave a huge negative impact on the show moving forward. One of the saddest episodes of the show, and probably of a show I have watched in a while. It was well acted and very well done. There are so many parallels between this and other episodes of the show. As much as I love the show, it had stagnated a little bit and it needed a shake up. While I didn't want to see Bobby leave everyone, logistically it made the most sense. And I know I'm in the minority, but I like the episode. I could more into I don't know what I was supposed to say. Into trust me. I don't know.
Ah.
This episode definitely packed a punch. I am not okay. The part where Bobby tells Buck that he loves him broke me, and then watching him say goodbye to Athena, I couldn't handle it. I did love watching Buck and Athena work together. If he ever wanted to become a cop, they would make a great team.
I don't think it's hard to become a cop, but he
I don't
would.
either. If
He they would make a good detective. Like I want their little adventures on the side.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the new Bobby, Michael, and David group.
Oh,
And now that makes
no.
me even more sad. Okay, we're never
Okay.
getting them back, and I already knew that because Michael. But still, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm breaking down over here.
We got that. Here's a few short ones. Hurting. Crying, this
Yep.
can't be real. I can't believe. I feel bad for Buck. I am absolutely devastated. I'm angry. I'm in shock. Never did I think once when I started watching 911 that I would get attached so heavily to the characters, and now they have become part of my family. I truly feel like I lost a family member. Only way to really describe how I'm doing is bad. Honestly, I felt that one so hard. And then lastly, I am unwell. I will never not think of Work Song by Hosier without thinking about Captain Bobby Nash. I definitely agree with this. Like, I know a lot of people online were like, you know how Chasing Cars is like the Grey's Anatomy song you avoid?
Yes.
This
Yep.
is the song you avoid. Although sometimes I like to feel the feels, so if I'm at a
Mhm.
safe place, I probably will like pop it on.
Right.
Yeah.
But I loved hearing from everyone. So yeah, like we always post out these everywhere. And if you guys want, I know somebody did email the night this episode went up. That's fine too. It's always in
Yeah.
the description of the podcast, but I'm gonna try. And also Twitter is so short when you have to write things, and with links it always makes it hard. But like on Threads, I try to make it longer to include more things. So yeah,
Yeah.
we love hearing, especially after like such like heavy episodes. It's always nice as like a fandom to like debrief.
Right.
So now we have the promo, which again I have actually seen,
Yeah.
so I can actually talk about it. So, this was a heavy promo. So we have Athena's voiceover as we like seen different clips. We have Athena saying that she experienced a devastating loss. As we've seen, the 118 at like a memorial. The chief is at the funeral saying we celebrate the life of Captain Robert Wade Nash when a hero falls. And then we see Buck and Chim on the roof, and Buck is saying no one blames you, and Chim's saying he blames him. Gave his life so I could live. I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to do with that. Survivor's guilt. Um,
Yeah.
and then the voiceover continues, from when a hero falls to kind of his world move on. Henry hugging in front of the mirror. We see so Athena's saying that he's not supposed to be dead. He just left. As we see the clip of Bobby kneeling, and she's telling him he left me. We see the 118 saluting at the funeral, and it's advertised as an emotional all new 911. And I did pause that clip of the funeral, just at the saluting scene, because obviously we've got the family in the front row. We've got the 118 like right behind them, and I didn't really take enough time to make out the faces of everyone else, but we do see Gerard and Tommy are standing right next to each other, and I'm like, well, that would be uncomfortable to stand
Ew,
next to him,
Gerard.
but okay. Fuck
Awkward.
Gerard. But I'm like, okay, so we've got them. I don't know as far as anyone else goes. It was a very quick clip, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh, who's there, where they are, and so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I think is important to note is so one clip where they are carrying the casket on the left side, but like really it's the right side.
Oh, I
It's
know exactly what you're talking
Tim,
about.
Ken, and Tommy. And on the other side it is Buck, Eddie, and Robbie. So a lot of people are
Mhm.
like,
They've got
so
the
it's
old
the
118
yes,
and the
and the
new.
new 118.
Yes.
I saw that and I was
That
like, oh my
parallel is
god.
very powerful. Yeah.
I'm just
Yes.
like just the choices for the pallbearers. It's like, of course, like who else was it going to be? And but it also, oh gosh, that's gonna hit. But
Yeah,
also,
Gonna
I'm
and I
be
glad to see
think
Tommy
so
there.
it was super
emotional.
powerful too to see it, having Eddie there but not in uniform, but still
Yeah.
being wearing the band around his arm, in a
Yeah.
black suit,
Yeah,
being treated as if he is, because he was for a very long time.
Still his
And
old captain. It's still his
yeah,
family. Yeah, and it's like Tommy's also not current 118 either. He's
right.
at the 217. He's at a harbor station,
No.
but but obviously he's still a firefighter, and he's there too. He's there
Yeah.
because that was his old captain.
Yeah.
And to be a pallbearer is a very important thing.
Yeah.
And so having the old 118, having the new 118, that's just so heavy. But no, when you brought that up, Katie, I was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're
me
talking
too.
about. And I love these details.
Yeah.
just seeing like so there have been like quite a few of the cast members have posted like something for Peter, which I think is super sweet. Like I know Kenny
Mhm.
did, I know Oliver did, I know Aisha did, I know Ani Rue did and stuff. And
Ryan has been very silent, but he has been sharing the posts that they've shared.
I just think
Yeah, he
that
hasn't said a lot of his own stuff as of late.
there might be a few things behind that. He might just not be posting in general, and then he might also just maybe there's possible spoilers, so he doesn't want to say anything. I'm
Also,
thinking.
as far as I've ever seen, he doesn't seem to like make a lot of his own posts about the show. He just tends to share a lot of other people's already. So
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily surprised. Yeah, it's a lot of people have been sharing stuff, and it's clear Peter was a beloved member of the cast. So yeah, it's hard. I'm glad they include. I know we talked about this, but I am glad they included the promo at the end of the episode, because it keeps it on your mind as more than just a finale. Because it's
Right.
not a finale. We still got episodes in the series
Right.
to do, but it's like, oh,
I
there's
did
more
like
beyond
that.
this.
Yeah. I also think it helps like the casual viewer, because if you think about the casual viewer, they're not necessarily going to like if you're watching on Hulu, they're just gonna maybe watch the episode. They're not necessarily gonna go, hey, let me go watch the promo for the next
Right.
episode. Like they might miss that. So like I think it was very deliberate. Like they wanted people to see it, to obviously be like, hey, there's still gonna be more and stuff. Like it is kind of funny thinking about the casual viewers sometimes, because like a lot of people just don't watch like the promos, which is totally fine. I know I
Mhm.
have plenty of people that are also in the fandom that don't watch the promos deliberately, don't even pay attention to any delivery. And I'm not just talking about Grace. I have friends that
I don't even deliberately not watch them. I just don't deliberately watch them.
well, yeah. I have a lot. I have one of my mutuals, like they don't watch any promos, they don't want any spoilers. They just want to go into the episodes not knowing anything. And like
Yeah.
I think that's
I'm just
so
like, we are
cool.
raw dogging it out here. We are not having any. I know about the promos because
See,
of the podcast, and that's it.
Yeah, I also feel like too, since there is a 2-week break in between the airing of this episode that we're talking about and then the next one, the last alarm, that I think it was also purposeful to remind people that, hey, there's another episode coming. Like it's in 2
True.
weeks. because that could easily have been a season finale episode.
Although Tim said he didn't want to do that because he
Right.
didn't want to hold over a hiatus like the fate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I am very glad they didn't have a
Because
break in the middle of these two. I think I would have rioted, most
Right.
likely.
yeah, because we would have been
Um,
worried about Chim between the episodes, I think.
Yeah.
And I know, like, so I forget, and I think this was mentioned on the interview, so I'm sure we'll talk about it, but like, this episode was actually filmed, I believe, as 13, but then they moved them around, and they knew the 2-week break was coming, so they kind of wanted it this way,
Yeah.
which was interesting.
Yeah, they made some very deliberate choices with all of this. And, obviously, you have a hiatus. I don't remember why we have a hiatus, but we have a hiatus. And I'm glad we don't have a cliffhanger necessarily. We just are left in pieces. That is it.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's really a reason. I just know that there was at least going to be one break. It's not really, it's just like, it's essentially like, yes, the show comes back in 2 weeks, but we only have 1 week really off.
Yeah.
That's just how it works, I guess. I know Peter also wrote a letter to I guess the fans, which I'll read. But I did think, like, I read it when after this episode aired, and I did think it was really nice. So basically, he goes, "I would like to thank Dana Walden, Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, and Tim Minear for entrusting me with such a complex character over these 9 years. It has been my honor to portray Captain Bobby Nash. In October 2017, through him, we began tackling topics such as grief, guilt, anger, addiction, while exploring his relationship with a higher power, forgiveness, and grace. On this path of healing, we watch him join and embrace with his new family at the firehouse and his new family with Athena Grant, where he found love and acceptance. We also had plenty of fun along the way. It was a joy, humbled by working in step with our technical advisor, Chief Mike Bowman. And real firefighters, I wish to thank you all for helping me bring the sense of dignity and realism to the character in our larger-than-life emergency landscape. Your kind and complimentary words have meant the world to me. I've heard that many fans are upset by this loss, and they have a right to be. It is a loss. That said, it was more than a bold creative choice on a bold show. Bobby Nash was written in sacrifice, and he was built for this. First responders risk their lives on the job so that others can see another day. His story arc honors them. We at 911 salute all the incredible men and women who do these dangerous jobs and strive to keep us safe. Our show is incredibly difficult to make at times with long hours, challenging stunts, and elaborate disasters. We couldn't do it without each other. I wish to thank everyone in every department, all those at ABC, 20th Century Fox. We are a sprawling team. I will miss all my 911 family, our incredible crew whose professional excellence is second to none. All the writers who keep pulling rabbits out of hats, all the directors cast with the same, all the incredible guest cast over the years, as well as I will miss my partner, Angela Bassett, her strength and sweetness, and us holding hands. We parted ways too soon. Much love. And then Tim Minear and Brad Beaker, you've been my pillars and are two of the best in the business. I will miss you both. Finally, I will miss my beloved and unruly children of the 118. Aisha and Kenny, Oliver, Ryan, Anirudh. This is a tough goodbye. Stay unruly, but be professional and get the job done. Misfit heroes need each other. That's how we do it at our firehouse. Pass it along to the next new guy. This has been one wild adventure. I thank you all with all my heart. I loved that. When I read that the other day, I
So
literally
sweet.
had tears streaming down my screen, especially when he's talking about obviously the 118. I'm just like, oh,
Unruly kids
Peter.
of the 118. Yeah.
I love it.
That was, yeah. he's very well spoken, and it was a very well written letter, and you know, and I am sure he had some help writing it, but I think it was just very,
You
very
could tell it came from his
Peter.
heart.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's from the heart.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
And you know, and I know he had said in a couple of years ago that he would happily play Bobby for another 100 episodes. I think it was around the time they were celebrating the 100th episode. You know, so of course, you know, that didn't happen. But Peter's an amazing actor, and I wish him all the best. And I hope somehow, I mean, I'm sure still going to be an EP for the series, maybe even the new one. So he'll be around, and we may get the opportunity to have a flashback with Bobby, or a dream sequence where like Buck is having a dream and Bobby's in it, you know, or something like that. So
I absolutely expect, no matter, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just started speaking when I thought of it.
No, fine, safe was share it. No, I don't mind.
Sorry. What I just thought of whoever it's to, whenever Buck gets married, there has to be some sort of vision or some sort of sign that Bobby is there, whether that's just like seeing him in a trick of a light or something like that.
You mean
I
much
need
like
it.
when TK got married and
I was
not
just
one?
about to say that. I did see somebody say
Yes.
that online. They're like, we need Bobby to show up when Puck gets married. And I'm like, yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. So I think they've handled it well, as in like the off screen stuff, like the interviews and the questions. There have been some interviewers who have definitely asked some very poignant questions. Others have asked some very like, well, why did you decide to do something like this? And I know that Tim Minear has said some various statements regarding it being a creative decision only, which I do feel like, had there been an issue on set where Peter wanted to leave, or there was just he didn't want to be there anymore, we would have known that, you know, there would have been something beforehand. So I think it was fully like a newer decision. And I know that Angela didn't even know about Bobby dying until she got the script for the episode.
Well,
Yeah, I
think
did see him
Tim
say
had
that.
said that like he did tell everyone when the time was right. Obviously, Peter knew a little bit longer,
Right.
but I know he said something about like, so telling the cast was kind of hard to convince them because nobody believed him. And he
Yeah.
had to be like, no, I'm serious. Like this is real. Like we're, you know, Bobby's gonna be dying. And everyone did not believe him. Like I think there was a comment about how Aisha was like, no, for real, like be serious right now.
Right.
And like everyone had kind of like their like own like thing. Like it was just like kind of one of those things and stuff. And I know like the comment of like it was not, the network was not like, yeah, get rid of him and it'll save us money. It was nothing like that. Like,
Oh yeah, no.
and I know like I feel like some words are being twisted online because people think this is like malicious. And I'm like, this is just how shows work. I always had in my back of my mind that like at some point somebody's gonna have to die. Like,
Yeah.
and I know some people were like, well, so many things have happened on 911 that like you shouldn't survive. And like this, and I'm like, yeah, but this is like not something you would necessarily survive. Like obviously we know that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there have been so many close calls, but that's kind of the point. And like there's other reasons why like they wouldn't kill other characters. Just
Yeah, I mean, I do have a point I'd like to make, and as someone who intends to join the fire department, firefighters don't drop like flies unless you get a specific instance like 9/11 or like a specific tragedy of that magnitude, which I don't know that we've necessarily had such since 9/11 itself. You get stuff like the 17 hotshots that all died in that one wildfire years back,
Yeah.
but those are specific isolated instances. Firefighters are far more likely to succumb to cancer from things that they are exposed to after, like
Right.
after their careers, like that they were exposed to during their careers. Therefore, more likely to be taken out by health complications,
Yeah.
addictions. I think, like they are not as likely to be killed on the job, even though it is a dangerous job, and I don't want to undermine that.
Yeah.
Firefighters do die during it, but it's not quite the same like risk level, not risk level, but it's not the same mortality rate that being a police officer or being a soldier or something along those lines. And it's very important to also note that that's because firefighters don't have guns, and so there's a reason for that. But
Right.
it's so those shows like Chicago Fire, those shows like Grey's Anatomy, those shows like that kill off their cast members religiously are not accurate. Those are for drama, those are gratuitous. And I'm not trying to shoot down these shows necessarily, but I am saying that it doesn't happen like that in real life. Like, sure, firefighters definitely get hurt, and some
Yeah.
are hurt to the point where they can no longer work, but the mortality rates are not like you see in shows. Just like a lot of the stuff you see is not true to form. So
Yeah.
actually, the fact that we have gone not quite 9 years, 8 years, and not had a death in the station, or at least on this ship, is not illogical. But also the fact that we finally had one is also not illogical, because things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was like mid 90s or early 2000s, there was a big warehouse fire on the Seattle waterfront, and we lost Seattle Fire Department lost 4 firefighters in that fire. So it happens, but it's not like it's every other day they're losing someone. It's not like that, like you said, and stuff, things like 9/11 and things like that. So yeah.
And it's even worth noting that people are still dying because 9/11, because of the health effects. But at the time, we lost 340 something
343.
343 firefighters just to 9/11 in the instance where it came down. So like, those are exceptions, and those are tragic exceptions to the rule. But yeah, I just seen a lot of people like both being upset. I think people are just struggling because grief. Like, we saw the bargain with Athena. She was already bargaining in the show during this episode. She was bargaining. That was the first stage of grief that she hit. Denial, bargaining.
Right.
And a lot of the fandom is in an anger stage right now.
Yeah.
Which is, understandable. People all process grief differently, and we're all grieving because Bobby was an amazing person. But I think it is worth just remembering that just because a show that makes its name off of not doing the same as a lot of other emergency procedures does finally kill off a character does not invalidate the years that we have been able to grow attached to the characters. It does not invalidate the bonds that they have, the comfort that we have found in them. That doesn't invalidate anything. And that does not mean that suddenly we're about to go sniping every single character either.
Yeah.
It was a creative decision, and you can feel however you feel about that, but it's like, this does not suddenly mean that this is a bad show, or that necessarily it was a bad decision. It's certainly a controversial one, but it is not necessarily a bad one. Sorry, that's me rambling, but like, I was trying to articulate that as best I could.
Right.
Yeah.
No, totally understandable. And yeah, I think also it's important to note that it doesn't matter who died, somebody would be upset over it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter who it was. It was going to be hard either way. Like,
Yes.
yeah, if they killed it, like, they weren't going to kill a side character because they did that in Lone Star, and like, yeah, it was impactful, but like, that just
It was more
they
that was
needed
more
to
because of the
go.
like
They needed,
traumatic nature of
yeah.
Tim's death. Actually, we didn't grow very attached to Tim. We were just sad for him.
Right.
But yeah,
And I know Peter has made comments about basically saying how like he's never going to have a relationship on show like the one he had with Athena and like with Angela, and he's gonna miss holding her hands like figuratively and also like physically.
sweet. They had a great working relationship. Yeah, it's gonna be really difficult watching Athena through the rest of this, because what you gonna do with the home that they were building for themselves
I
now?
know
Like,
it's gonna be so hard to like
and how are
move
the kids
into
gonna
that
react?
home. Yeah,
May
I
and
know.
Harry, how are they gonna react?
Yeah, because we didn't see May, Harry, or Eddie's reactions. And I know it was said in an interview that basically that's all going to be off screen. Like Eddie's going to find out off screen.
Yeah, which I know
although-
there are a lot of people having a lot of feels about that one.
Yeah.
I would have just been too. I don't think if they shot that in the same scene, I don't think it would have made sense.
I don't think anyone is at the stage yet where they are processing beyond their own grief, even to the stage of going, Eddie needs to know. Because it's all like that was all within the first couple minutes of Bobby dying. That was all as he
Right.
died. So would I prefer if it wasn't off screen? Sure. I even would have maybe taken like a shot of maybe Eddie in his kitchen and like seeing his phone light up with a call
Mhm.
from who I don't think it was going to be Buck. I don't. Buck's not doing anything anytime soon. But also, I don't know who would have been. Maybe Robbie. Who knows?
Or
Robbie Cobb or
Tommy.
someone like that.
I feel
Yeah, I
like
was thinking.
that sense they might have had, I don't know how they would have pulled it off. That's the thing, because it's not like he's attached to a fire department in El Paso. So it's like I don't know how they would have. I feel like somebody, maybe an outside source, might have had to call him, like maybe like Karen or
I have seen
somebody
a lot of
else.
people writing stories, and I think this is like probably one of the more logical ways it could have gone down, saying that Tommy would have called him. And I think that's true because they haven't really talked, but as far as we know, they didn't actually end things like they didn't end up their friendship like in bad terms or anything like that. They just stopped
Right.
talking
Right.
really. So I think
Well,
he'd
and
know that if Tommy was calling him, something was wrong.
right. And so his first think was something's wrong with Buck, and then something, what's going on? And then, yeah, because I was thinking that too. I was like, Tommy could have been the one because he recognizes, regardless of his feelings towards like what like Buck's emotional status with feelings towards Eddie are, he knows that they're best friends and that he knows how close Eddie was also with the 118. So I think it could potentially have been from Tommy. But yeah, so
I'm
we'll,
hoping they'll even mention who did.
yeah.
Maybe.
I doubt they will, but like I right now my running guess is Tommy or Karen because I
Yeah.
think they're the only ones that would have had the mental wherewithal to do so.
Right. Well, yeah, and I feel like, I mean, and honestly, in some ways, it doesn't really matter who calls him, but he's definitely going to be feeling it because, had he been there, I'm sure there's going to be some of the survivor's guilt from him too. Of, well, had I been there, maybe I could have helped, or maybe I could have recognized the symptoms before they did, or, something like that. So I know that they've said that Eddie's going to be, the next few episodes, we'll see quite a few of them dealing with the grief of this. So
They're all gonna have survivor's guilt. They're all
yeah.
gonna have trouble processing their grief, and yeah, it's gonna be difficult. And then there's fucking Gerard. Like no one
Okay.
wants him back.
The one thing that makes me mad about that is with other leaks, there was a leak of basically like I don't remember all the details, but basically Gerard is somehow like acting captain, and um somehow Chim is yelling at Gerard like I don't know, and he's like, you're never gonna be like half of the captain that Bobby was, and like stuff like that. So I'm just like, why is this man here? I thought we got rid of him. I really wish
And
the bees had literally stunned him and taken him.
Take
Cause
him
like,
away.
god damn it, what the hell?
right.
I
Yeah,
can't.
my
I literally
guess.
can't.
I am wondering if Hen's not fit to return to duty yet, because or if even I don't know if they're gonna pass her up, even for a guy that got removed from her station because of complaints. I'm wondering if there's gonna be an element of he was returned anyway, even though she should have been put as acting captain, because she is the best candidate.
I was talking to a friend of mine the other night, and we were definitely hashing out some theories. And I feel like Gerard may come back as an interim captain temporarily because technically he's still employed by the LAFD, and he is a captain detached from a station because of the job he was doing on the Hot Shot set. But I think in this situation, they would pull him from that and put him in as a captain because he's a captain. But I don't think he's going to be the permanent captain of the 118.
The
I
fandom will
think,
not stand for
They
it.
No.
they know
I
that
won't
people
stand
would
for
stop
it.
watching if
Right.
that happened. So like it's just the fact that like why are we bringing this man back again? Like
Yeah.
nobody
not
wants to
gonna
see
have-
him. Not
We're not
especially
going to
in
have the
high.
racist, misogynistic, homophobic twat come back who recently called the canonically gay man a fairy.
Yeah.
We're not gonna stand for it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I feel like with all that, like, so he may come back temporarily, but then I think 118 would fight the department on that. And I think whoever's going to be captain is somebody we know. And I think it may be him.
My
I have
running
some
guess. I
other
don't want
theories,
anyone else to be.
but that's I think the most logical.
Maybe this is a
I don't think so.
stretch, or maybe this is just my imagination working, but I feel like somewhere Bobby probably had something like, if I were to ever like if I were ever to, die, I would like Ken to be captain of the 118.
Yeah,
Like,
like she
yes,
be
it
And
his
would not
successor.
situation,
stand
I don't think that
necessarily.
situation. I don't think he has that kind of. I don't think they would. I don't know that his word would necessarily mean much. Like
I
that they
don't
would.
want it to
Like,
mean much. I'm
but
just saying I want him to
still, yeah.
like, that to be
And to
there.
Hen, I give my firehouse. In his will.
I'm not saying legality ways, I'm just saying in
Right.
general.
I know. I think. I know. I don't picture anyone else being captain personally. It's only her for me. She's the only person I want to become captain. Because they have been building up to this for a while now. It doesn't make sense for anyone to do it. And I'm not going to entertain a single person who says Buck is going to be captain, because he's not. If he does, I'm going to have a lot to say about it. um, so yeah, I don't know what's happening. That's just my preferences, but we're gonna see. This is gonna be very interesting. I will also
Yeah.
say I ran a poll to see if people actually thought Bobby was dead. Because I was
Yeah.
like, well, let's see what the fandom is thinking. And it's still going. I just thought you guys might be interested to hear this, which is why I'm bringing it up. Out of so far 360 votes, they are climbing. I had 5 options on there, other than like an opt-out button of like other / I'm Bobby. I was like, Bobby is alive, dead serious. Alive, I don't actually know, but I'm grieving and you can believe it. Alive because Oliver. Dead for sure. Dead, but they might backtrack, become Swimsy because they do this.
Yeah.
And so far, Dead for sure is winning at 43.9%. The next up is Dead, but they might backtrack because Whimsy at 26.4%. Then it's Alive, I don't actually know, but I'm grieving and need to believe it at 18.9. Alive, Dead Serious at 4.7, and Alive because Oliver at 1.4. And then the remaining 4.7% is Other I'm Bobby. So, but a lot of the reblogs are going, we don't want him to be dead, but don't bring him back because that would cheapen everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. Now, granted, I am largely just reaching the Buck Tommy side of the fandom more than anything else, because that is where my vlog is focused, and I've blocked a lot of the other people by this point. But that is not just solely who it is. So I don't know, but that is just something I thought at least you guys would be interested in hearing.
Yeah, for sure.
So opinions are divided.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are still in that maybe not denial stage, but they're definitely in the numb stage, and they're like not really sure how to feel and how they feel. But yeah, I definitely feel there's truly no way to backtrack everything they've done thus far with Peter doing exit interviews and making this so blatantly obvious. And Tim has confirmed he is dead. But I know we say in sci-fi series a lot, like in Stargate and some of the series that I watched, you're never really dead in a sci-fi series.
And also you're never dead until you see a body, which is just the general rule. Sadly, we have seen the body, but
Yeah, let me just say, this is not a teen drama. This is not a soap opera. It would be way harder for them to backtrack this. That, it's kind of like we saw the body bag, we saw him collapse. Like, it would be pretty hard to be like, just kidding. I know people have some wild theories. Like, I saw one today where somebody was like basically saying, after the stuff that happened with Bobby and Athena last season, maybe like Bobby has to go into witness protection. And I'm just like, guys, like, I'm all for like the delusional like theories and
you're
delusional
here for the
feelings,
Delulu. The
but
Delulu is
that's a
not always just
stretch.
Delulu.
And like
Yeah.
they're like, well, maybe then like Athena doesn't know right away, but then she finds out, and then like they have to play this, and I'm like, guys, I'm here for Delulu, but I don't know, that's a bit much, even for me. I don't know. It was like I could not believe this was real, like I've said when it first happened, but now it's kind of like it's still like kind of like I'm like, damn, I can't feel this is real. Like, there were so many things that gave me chills. And I think we can all agree collectively that we definitely think that Chim and Maddie are going to name their baby some form of Bobby's name,
yeah.
whether
Mhm.
it's like, and Kevin. So whether if it's Kevin Robert or Robert Kevin, they're definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Or like, and it doesn't matter. Like, oh, some kids or some parents, like the kid goes by the middle name, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people are kind of are also questioning things, and I wanted to address this just because I've seen a fair amount of it. People are like, well, Lou did exit interviews after the Buck Tommy breakup, and yet he's back.
That's
And
different.
it is, well, for one thing, those weren't exit interviews. They were called exit interviews by biased fans and journalists. They were not actually exit interviews. They were interviews after a episode, but they were never full exit interviews.
Yeah.
Like, I understand
Peter
that,
has
like,
done exit
people
interviews.
didn't
He's done.
expect him to come back. Yeah, Peter has done so much press around this. Like, he was on Good Morning America. He's done so many interviews online, and there's just been so much press. And the cast has said a lot of things, and I know people are trying to like read into things that maybe aren't there, and like I get it. We're all grieving, and
Delulu's a Salulu. I
and
mean,
it's only gonna get worse. And we only
and also
have
it's worth saying,
3 episodes left, which is crazy to even
true.
think about.
It is also worth mentioning that Tim never fully confirmed a lot as far as like the whole Buck Tommy breakup went. He was wishy-washy on that. If Tim is saying that he's dead, I believe him. If Peter and Tim are both saying that he's dead, the man is dead. So I definitely think that is true. Also, just as a funny side bit, in the letter when he talked about Ryan Murphy and Tim Minear, I forgot they were different people. I know Ryan is like the head of everything, and then Tim is the other head of everything, and that's about where the separation is for me.
For
I
me,
totally
the
forgot
the
that they
thing I
were
say all the time, and I know I've said this like recently a bit, but like I for sometimes I forget that Ryan Murphy like was part of 911 because he clearly hasn't paid attention to any of his like any 911 Lone Star, any of those for literally seasons. He clearly dipped and went to Netflix and is creating just not the best things, let me just add. So
Yeah.
honestly, I don't give him much credit to anything
Isn't
anymore.
Dr. Odyssey him too?
Yeah, he did create that. But like he has a lot
Yeah.
of shows on Netflix that I feel like shouldn't even be out there, but that's just my
It just sounds like
opinion.
he drops a bomb, lets it explode, and then runs away. Not even in a bad way. He just drops a show, let it explode, and runs away.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have other things to say that I will choose not to say.
It's okay. I'd
Um,
like to forget that man exists.
yeah. In the Glee fandom, some of us called him the yellow hat guy.
It's funny. That's funny.
Because it seemed like whenever he had an announcement or something, he was in a yellow hat doing it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, no, we are here. We've made it. We had to discuss this, and I think I'm actually looking forward to seeing the next episode because I want to see how they round this out. Because even though this was the two-parter, literally the end of the episode is Bobby's death. And we know there's going to be some sort of time shift because in the promos, it looked like Chim was 100% healthy. And so did Chen looked pretty healthy to be carrying being a pallbearer. So, got a hole in your side. It's going to be kind of difficult to do that. So there's a
So
little
I
bit
will
of
say that is a bunch of very strong people all carrying the
that is
coffin.
true.
So it probably doesn't weigh a ton,
That is true.
but it
And
probably still weighs.
honestly, here's the thing. I don't think they're burying a body.
True, it might just be ashes.
Because given that he was infected with a deadly virus that they don't have a cure for, the chances of them being able to bury his body without cremating it is slim to none. So this is more for finality or closure than it is his actual body is not going to be in that casket. I'm pretty
You've
sure.
got a very good point. I
They
didn't
would
even
have to
think
burn
about
that body.
But that would really shut down the whole fake script Oliver leaked, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But given that it's
no
also
buried alive
fiction
there.
and it's a TV show, they're probably not thinking that way. And yes, that Oliver script, I don't know where that came from Tim saying that.
I could just imagine the menace that Oliver Stark is just typing it up on his computer.
Right.
People were also like, how did he like people are honestly like skeptical if it was real just because they were like, how did he have time for that? How did he manage to do that? And they were like, also Jennifer also posted it on her story.
The Buckley siblings are menaces. I don't
Yeah,
know.
literally. That's the thing that
I
was a
want
thing still confused me because I never actually saw the original.
True.
I just saw
I
people
am
talking about
wondering partially if maybe they did have like a buried alive storyline and then decided to scrap it afterwards. Like,
maybe.
actually, never mind.
Never mind. That's too soon.
Never mind. Never mind. I don't know. There's so much debating that we could do. Like, there's just so much.
I know, and maybe we'll have to like do more like theorizing and debating
Yeah.
for our next one because we will have like a break.
Well, I imagine like during the break we'd probably just do like our wishes, our hopes and wishes for like the last 3 episodes, because I'm sure there's a lot we could say
Yeah.
about what we want.
Yeah.
I know I have a lot I could say.
Because honestly, yeah, we could mash like a few things into that for sure. Because I still like, there's other things we could do, but I feel like I want to like still talk about 911 on the break because I'm sure there will be things that'll come up the next week.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. They're gonna drop something. They're gonna drop a little bomb and just be like, hee, everyone away. Like, that's what they do. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our website at 91lsroundup.com. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 91ls Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. As always, be sure to join our Discord server. The link will be in the description of this podcast and also on our website.
You guys can follow me, Katie, after Love Tarlos on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads.
You guys follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and Threads.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Threads. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.